Is that the start? The title for this is the Unclicked podcast with Bob Haro.
It is. Nice. It is. Welcome.
Dennis, you're getting your radio voice on.
Here we go. Bob Haro. I think this might be the 100th episode.
Let's say it is.
Let's say it is. What better way to celebrate 100 episodes when this guy right here, Bob Haro.
Yeah, thank you for coming, sir.
That's all.
Thanks, Fudger, for 100 episodes.
Yeah, dude, it is a milestone. It's funny. It's funny to think. Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, we did it all through COVID.
We're right around
we never
there. We're
quit.
either a little, probably a little above, but let's say this is 100.
We'll say it's 100. So 100 real ones because we've done some funny ones over the years.
Yeah.
X Games reactions and stuff like that. So, but yeah, thank you for coming down.
Yeah.
We've kind of, you brought some gifts. I'm so glad. I always forget, like, hey, bring something for the wall. It doesn't have to be something crazy, but just something random, like, so I can add it.
I over delivered.
Yeah,
you sure did.
I want to bring stuff. I want stuff to go down so people can see it, because people don't get to see, but it goes up because that's all the old stuff.
I had to bring you a classic shot.
Yes,
I thought that would be appropriate.
That's a Wendy photo, right?
Damn.
You know, I don't know. I think this is Osborne, maybe.
Is it?
Is that you?
I think Bob. That was me. Yeah.
Damn.
We did that.
That is sick.
What a donation to the studio.
Dude, that is awesome.
That was probably like 79.
Damn.
79. You guys
I was
weren't even born yet.
-2.
Exactly.
-2.
How old were you right here in 79 already doing it?
I was probably 19.
That's so sick.
Probably 19. We did that at Anaheim up at the convention center over there by Disneyland. And that was the finale. There was a BMX.
That's a beautiful photo.
There was a BMX race there, of course. They did an indoor.
Right here.
They did an indoor race with wooden berms and jumps and stuff like that, because that's kind of what was going on at the time.
Okay.
So we were the finale. RL and I were the finale, and they dropped all the lights in the arena, and then we first did tricks, and then they lit the fire. So I'm just stoked someone took a picture of it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Did you get a beer?
Oh no, we got to be careful. We've had a laptop destroyed because
you are fired.
What did Rude?
Rue knocked it over.
It went down the wall.
That's all right.
Be careful of the computer. Let's make sure.
It's over there.
He was so nonchalant about it last time, and then the computer.
It cost me so much money.
Well, cool. Thank you for this.
I'll hold on to my beer.
And then this is huge. You brought the freestyling book down, but Fudger already has one somewhere over there. So
yeah, that's a must-have book. That's Andy, Spike, and Lou. The classic team from freestyling and BMX Action magazine days. Put this together. Yeah. And this was a Nike piece. It was a celebratory piece that Nike put together, and it was a media piece. They only made I think 2,500 pieces of that. A guy named John Martin, that was the brand manager for Nike 6.0, was a super BMX head. He was crazy for BMX, and he was the boss for Nike Action Sports.
Okay.
So they had big budgets, and BMX was going into the Olympics in 2008, and they put together this book and a whole bunch of other stuff. Did you ride that wave? Were you going with us to China?
Didn't they fly everyone first class?
Dude,
why weren't you on Nike?
I was, but I was hurt or something. And I was just like, I think I was really just getting into an injury.
That's what I remember. Like Losi,
but I remember
not Losi. Yeah. I remember there was tickets that were like, I think Nigel and Spinner were
the only one. Me and Garrett stayed home.
I was going to Asia a lot there with my business.
This book is amazing.
Yeah, that is an amazing.
Thank you. These guys would buy Nike would buy tickets. They were like, my ticket was like $14,000 or $15,000 for business class tickets, and I remember thinking to myself, you guys you spend so much money, because I was buying tickets going to Asia, and they were like a couple grand.
Yeah. So it's crazy when you have those corporate, those corporations where it's actually required that if it's an overseas flight, then they have to buy you business class. And it's like, because Red Bull has that same policy and stuff like that for their employees. And it's like, that's insane. ESPN, I remember. I miss
those budgets.
Oh, I'm sure. I never, that wave went over my head. I was not on that way. It was
like the early days at Haro Bikes.
I was a little scumbag at that point. I was working for Ride, but I was like not present. I was in my own world. So, but that's fine. That's
core.
Cool. Yeah.
Two core. Letting the first class tickets fly right over your head.
Yeah, never.
So I have a technical question. Is this live or
No live.
Okay.
We do want to get there, but for certain ones, because there's always something that people want to pull out and stuff like that. Yeah. But for the
we edit anything if anybody wants, but don't members who do the member thing, they get the unedited version.
Yeah, I may. I may do a quick. Yeah, it's funny because I was gonna actually do like a quick edit of for the members and have that up there because we have like members on the channel and stuff like that. Nice. And then I have some questions and stuff from them as well. But I honestly don't even know where to start. I mean, you are. I don't think there's. Where do you start?
We're just hanging out. I haven't been, and I apologize. I know you guys have been doing this, but I haven't been following.
Oh yeah,
what you've been doing.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
So this is full disclaimer.
Yeah.
I don't want to lie about things,
No, you're fine.
I start out on the wrong foot.
No.
Well, I love how you had to ask us the name of the podcast.
That's how bad is that? How bad is that?
That's basically how we started this thing. I love it. I love it.
So how do you consume BMX these days? Is there just like an Instagram type thing?
Yeah, probably through that. And see what Dennis is up to. And
nice.
Was that the roof you guys flew off of here out front?
No, that's at my house.
Okay. Yeah.
Jumping in the pool.
Pitch. I was thinking is that the same pitch?
Yeah.
No, but
we did ride my pool though when last year. Yeah. So, but nobody off the roof, unfortunately.
Yeah. How long have you been here?
Just like 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So nice. We had to redo the pool, and I made a whole video, and everybody came over and rode the pool for like a month or so.
Where are you from originally?
Here for the most part.
Are you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Lived in Long Beach probably when we would hang out and stuff during the rides days. I was in Long Beach, but I grew up here, and me and Gary Young grew up together. Yep. So
Bob, you're actually from like right around here, right?
I'm from beautiful Spring Valley.
Mm-hmm. That's all right, the homeland.
Yeah. But it became Sprung Valley. if you know San Diego and you know Spring Valley, why that is, it became a little rough and tumble.
Yeah.
And I went to Mount McGill High, and
it used to be nice.
It was nicer.
It's not terrible.
No, but it was nicer.
Yeah.
But when we grew up there, and I think we moved there from I moved from Los Angeles. I was born in Pasadena, lived in Covina, and a couple other places. And then we moved out of LA, and we lived over by San Diego State for a little while. My parents rented a house there, and then eventually they bought a house in Spring Valley.
Okay.
And so when we moved there in the late 60s and 70s, San Diego was pretty sleepy town. Mm-hmm. It was mostly military. There's fields everywhere.
So you were saying it was just open land pretty much.
Wide open. And everybody in the neighborhood, everybody had BMX bikes, dirt bikes, and down the street from our house in Spring Valley, there's a skate park. So that's where the skate park stuff came in.
Crazy.
And then the freestyle stuff started.
Because just for the people, Spring Valley today does not have a skate park.
No, it
had one in the 60s.
Well, 70s? It was probably 70s. Yeah, 70s. Yeah, skating is huge. Skateboarding's big.
Yeah.
So, for me as a kid growing up in Spring Valley, in high school, junior high and high school, this is everybody, like I said, everybody had dirt.
Can you
open the door?
House hippo out.
All right.
See you, cat.
Want me to leave it open?
No, you can close it. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a pretty, magical time as a kid because everything around you was, everybody had dirt bikes. Everybody, BMX was coming on strong.
Mm-hmm.
The skateboard park 2 miles away from the house. You go a couple blocks and there were miles and miles of fields. So we had tracks for, that we made for our dirt bikes and or jumping BMX bikes and all that kind of stuff.
And Spring Valley is not a flat place.
It's not a flat place. Yeah. No, it was good. Yeah. So, a lot of canyon tracks, the really cool up and down canyon type moto tracks. Mm-hmm. And so that was lots of fun. You could ride from Spring Valley all the way to the Mexican border. If you just jump over a road, over a highway, and then bang, you get onto the next dirt trail, and then jump over another one and go all the way down.
Yeah.
So, we used to do that and stuff like that. So it was a good time. There was no East Lake. East Lake was
nothingness.
It was just the lake out there. So it was absolutely beautiful. So it's a trip for me to go out there. And
that's where like the Olympic training facility is now, is essentially in East Lake and stuff like that. And they have, they are full on incorporated down there now.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Insane.
So I think, maybe I'll take a little bit of the lead just with that thought, the combination of living there into dirt bikes into BMX, and then we have a skateboard park that we used to. They didn't have a session for bikers.
Mm-hmm.
It was just purely for skaters.
Was it staffed?
It was, but you had to, if we wanted to ride there, we would go on the night when there was a pretty good moon out, and we'd throw our bikes over the fence and we'd go ride in the park. And then we finally talked to the management, which were guys that I knew at high school, to let us in. I think the guy, a friend of mine, Mike Alisi, I think that's his name, that he was the manager there, and they finally let us in where bikers could go into the skate park. Because it was a skate park. It wasn't made for, bikes and stuff like that. So that's where like kind of a lot of the
same stuff kind of goes on today here and there.
Yeah. Well, we weren't very popular either. If you were on your BMX bike and you drop in and there's skaters there, they would slide their board in on you. And
more things change, more they stay the same.
Still happens a little bit.
Yeah. So
not too often,
but that was really how the whole BMX and freestyle thing got going for me. It was really a combination of.
So did you know other people who were riding bikes in skate parks?
I hung out with, I was racing. Everything was race back then.
No dirt jumps, just race.
I mean, we all kids, we made dirt jumps.
And you had a motocross background, right? So you raced motocross.
Yep. I was racing 100cc and 125 dirt bikes.
Okay.
But
so the BMX thing almost was like a mix of the skate park down the street and motocross.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So the motocross thing, like, probably like a lot of kids, you want to race motocross and you want to be a pro and do all that kind of stuff. What I discovered early is if you want to race motorcycles, you need money.
Mm-hmm.
Money makes you go faster. You can have new equipment and you got to have your parents that support you with that. I had neither. My parents were lovely, but they didn't have the money to support, support me, riding dirt bikes and stuff like that. So I had taken my 125 Honda Elsinore apart, and I didn't have the money really to put it back together like I wanted. My brother Scott had he had a BMX bike. He had a stroker BMX bike is what it was called.
Okay.
A big square tube frame, really heavy, but it was an early BMX bike. So I used to ride his bike all the time. He wasn't into it. He was more into weight training, and he was a big guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I took it and I used to ride it all the time. And then one day I think I broke it, and then my dad said I had to buy it. So then I was into BMX officially, since I
got invested.
I was invested. Now I broke my brother's bike. So, but I got a lot of grief back then because, everybody, BMX wasn't established.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this fledgling sport. And again, this is in mid 70s. Probably 74, 5, something like that. So there was not a lot of respect.
There was not a lot of respect. Started. 74,
it did start.
Like, BMX bike is only how many years old at that point?
Well, I think you look up in Los Angeles, out of the valley, the brand, Scott Breithaupt was out of Long Beach. You look at the brands that came out of, Redline out of Northridge and Mongoose out of Chatsworth. A lot of these brands, some brands came out of moto. There was DG that came out of the motorcycle industry. That was a tuner that made performance exhaust and hop up things for dirt bikes. They started making BMX bikes, but everybody was in too. I mean, it started all of a sudden, the sport really kind of took off. Moto was very big. And again, Southern California, that time was not as developed as it is today. There was lots of places to ride and stuff like that.
Yeah. And probably no laws to do.
Yeah, there was that. We had at school, we had high school motocross. We had high school motocross teams like
that is crazy.
Yeah, it was really
El
cool.
Cajon used to have a little supercross track out there.
El Cajon was the epicenter.
Really, kid, yeah.
El Cajon was the Cajon zone was where lots of really hot riders came.
Now you can't ride a dirt bike in El Cajon.
I don't know.
No place to ride a dirt bike.
Probably. Yeah. So it was just, the combination of, there wasn't as many people. There's lots of fields, skate parks there. You're into moto, you're into BMX, and these things all kind of the mosh pit of
70s of San Diego.
That
awesome.
Dynamic is going on, and, that's what you do. And you ride every day, and, your friends, you guys know, your friend, that's all you do, 24/7. So
is Mike home?
Yeah.
It's like the same thing when I was growing up, but it was all dirt jumps, because the motocross thing, like stuff started getting too compact. So there was people who rode motocross, but it was go out to the desert and do it. Yeah. Or they had the one track in El Cajon, which was awesome. But yeah, we had like the dirt jumps, and now even today, it's like 20 years later, and there's not room for the dirt jumps.
Yeah,
you know, it's crazy when stuff gets packed. It just
yeah.
But now there's skate parks everywhere. So, and street riding.
Yeah, that's been amazing because there's an era where all the skate parks closed. Because of product liability and then property value. You know, that land was too valuable to have a skate park there. They can put in a nice housing development or whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
what Pipeline in Carlsbad? Is that what it was?
There's a lot of parks. There was one where the Dave and Buster's was. I was into some skate park history book, and like all those 80 skate parks got buried. There was like 10, right?
Yeah.
There was one under the 805.
That's probably one.
Yeah, the
805 and the 8 right there.
I never knew that.
There was a park.
I didn't know. I don't know what this book was, but it was blowing my mind.
There was lots of parks.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time.
I remember being
they buried them all.
21 or 22 and going up to Carlsbad. And, you know, like when you're I wouldn't say younger, but like at that point, like we didn't drive to North County, you know, being down here. And I remember seeing Pipeline half buried in Carlsbad. Yeah. And I was like, what? Like, let's go dig it out. Like one of those things. And and people are like, oh, they try. And then they just get, you know, they'll shut you down and stuff like that. And then within 2 years after that, they just built a mall over it or something, like a strip mall, you know? And it's like,
how they have like peaks and spikes of building skate parks and it dies off. Because right now they're actually building a park in Spring Valley.
Oh, are they? Wow.
A bike park and skate park.
They're trying. Yeah.
San Marcos. I heard they're like,
an Alpine too?
Alpine bike and skate park, and then San Marcos a bike park. So it's like seems like another boom. Corona,
I think
bike park.
I think it's more socially accepted now. You know, in the sense that I think municipalities realize that it's really a good thing for the kids.
100%.
You know, they're gonna do it anyway. Let's make a place for them.
And a lot of 50-year-old people that go to these meetings and are a part of these boards. Road, skate, mountain bike, motocross. So it's like a change is happening.
It took a minute.
Yeah.
It only took 50 years.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
So. I guess like, so when you started getting into BMX, it was like you were 16 or something, 15? How old are you?
I've always ridden bikes since I was a kid. I mean, since I was a little kid.
Like, what do you remember?
Third grade, I had a bike.
I guess, do you remember?
Was like a Stingray?
I'm a BMXer. Was that a term back then?
No, it wasn't. Not then. It wasn't until BMX became, you know, kind of the word for what these bikes are. BMX bikes, you know. And for me, I mean, BMX bike was really just kind of an offshoot of like moto kind of stuff. Your dirt bike, your MX bike, you know,
bicycle
motocross. It all made sense and stuff like that. I was going to say something earlier, like back in that time too, is, you know, there was a lot of excitement behind BMX as it was growing up it's in the 70s, but late 70s, you know, all the brands like Yamaha had a motorbike, Kawasaki had a bike, Suzuki had a bike.
A BMX bike.
They made dedicated BMX bikes. Yeah, they were cool. Diamond frame BMX bikes.
It makes sense from a marketing standpoint. Like you're getting the kid hooked on a motorbike, you know?
Like,
crazy.
So, yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time, you know, to be in the sport because there was a lot of blue sky. There was, you know, everything was new. Everything was
brand new. Yeah.
Everything was
It's like the perfect thing too for the kid who likes bikes, motorcycles, but can't afford that whole, it's a pretty lavish thing to be trailering a motorcycle around the country to race nationals. It's like smart to have a BMX bike section.
I was going to say, because you guys are triggering my brain a little bit, or maybe it's the beer you gave me.
Yeah. Shout out. We didn't do the shout out to Dale. Shout out to
Dale. Sponsor of the podcast. Yeah. They're awesome. They make the podcast even
brain
more
triggering
fun.
Dales.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They make you smarter.
There we go. No, I was going to say that, you know, when we talk about the time of late 70s, early 80s, probably late 70s, when parks are getting torn down, this was the reason why I made my first ramps. Because all of a sudden, you know, we don't ride at the skate parks anymore. So we started making ramps, and then we could throw them in our trucks. And what we would do is we'd go down to Balboa Park, or then I moved up to Los Angeles when I was working for BMX Action magazine. And we'd take the ramps down to Mission Beach or Hermosa Beach, and we'd set it up, and we'd do demos right there, just practicing. But you'd have people, you know,
at Belmont Park.
Balboa Park and stuff.
Balboa
Park and stuff. And, you know, we'd go set stuff up because all of a sudden now you had an audience.
Yeah.
And now you had ramps, and they'd never seen it. And we had these little 6 foot, you know, rickety quarter pipes that we made and wedge ramps and stuff like that. And a lot of the early tricks came out of all that stuff because all of a sudden now freestyle, it was portable. We can go do it. We can take our little demo.
How would you cart all that around?
Just put it in our trucks.
They were 8 foot wide, right?
Yeah, they were just sheets of plywood. You know, they weren't huge.
You'd put it together when you got there then?
No, we'd lay the bed of the truck, like the cab is here in the bed, and we'd lay the ramp sideways like this. And sometimes
there was no short bed trucks back then. I feel like they were all like big trucks.
No, we had little Toyota trucks and stuff
that's true. That is true. Yeah.
And sometimes we did a good job of securing them, and sometimes we'd driving down the highway, and all of a sudden we look in the rearview mirror, and the ramp's all over the highway because someone ran into it. So,
jeez,
so it's things like that.
That's a sick idea to do right now because like less wooden skate parks are common. You know, it's all like cement skate parks. And just have a few friends with trucks, and everyone bring their own ramp.
I think that at Hamels, I see the guys ride down there. You know, it's mostly the old school guys. But there's that one kind of concrete deal. Hamels is right here. The beach is here. Yeah. There's this concrete thing here. It's like you could put a cool little ramp there and have more fun.
I think Hamels was a go-to spot because I grew up in PB. So I would just go down there and you would see, you know, like Henry and like God, I'm horrible at names these days, but just Flatland crew out there, and you're just like, this was we were kids, you know, little kids. So I got to see like actual bike riders, and I knew I could go there and see actual bike riders, and it was like pivotal for Gary and I when we were growing up and stuff.
It is pretty cool. You bring the ramps to somewhere like Balboa Park or Mission Beach, and it's like all of a sudden it's mainstream because it's in front of the public right there, and everyone's like, you wouldn't get shut down by cops or anything? Did they like it because the audience liked it?
It all depends. I mean, sometimes we did. We weren't as radical as you did. You know, we did.
I'm not doing something like that. Like I would think you wouldn't be able to like just set up a ramps in a cul-de-sac right at the beach.
Balboa Park has like those like street performers and stuff like that. That little walkway thing.
I just feel like as soon as you started dragging stuff out of the truck, though, they'd be like,
well, there's that too. I mean, we didn't do it right next to the fountain down in the park. We would do it out in the parking lot.
That's literally where I pictured you doing it at the fountain.
Well, we used to ride at the fountain, but that was just freestyling. Yeah. That was just throwing down tricks and bunny hopping and doing all kinds of stuff.
It still baffles my mind.
Garrett Reynolds is still doing crazy stuff.
That's what I mean. Like 81, 82, 83, you're doing that. And it's like 40 years later, like that's the meetup spot for the BMX stage.
Someone probably rode that today.
Yeah. And
really?
Probably. Yeah.
It's still a normal spot.
Yeah.
Especially now with manual pad tricks, like people do, it'd blow your mind, like the shit people do on those things.
Yeah. Did you guys like put like a little bucket out?
No, we weren't that. No? We weren't that.
So free show.
We weren't that enterprising.
Yeah,
we're business savvy. We're just happy to have people watch you.
Yeah, and somewhere to ride. Cool. Probably too.
Yeah, it was. Cool. Yeah. We always kind of gravitated towards places like that.
Yeah,
you know, and like I said, whether it was here in San Diego or when I moved from San Diego, when I got a job working at BMX Action, and now I'm living with Bob Osborne and RL Osborne, Wendy and the whole family there. Now I'm deeply immersed in BMX, so we're right by Torrance is right next to Hermosa Beach and Redondo Beach and all of that stuff there. So we would just go up and, if I can say it, go up and over the hill, and we'd go ride, on the boardwalk and just do stuff like that. Yeah. It was basically showing off. Freestyle was basically showing off.
The showmanship back then was everything.
That's what it was.
How do you go from riding in a parking lot in San Diego to working for BMX Action? So
that happened because of my artwork.
Okay.
So I was, doing my cartoons and my illustrations and stuff like that. I was doing artwork for some local San Diego and I think in LA BMX, we called them ragazines. It was a newsprint thing that some enthusiast made, and every month or every other month they came out with a newspaper about BMX.
Okay.
And the results and what was going on in the tracks and all that kind of stuff. So I was first doing some artwork for publication like that. I don't even know if it was a publication.
Yeah,
it was just somebody out of their house making this, but you'd go to the race and they'd have them, and for 50 cents you buy it or whatever. So that's where it started, and then I submitted my artwork to BMX Action magazine.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, when BMX Action came out, this again late 70s, the sport now has a glossy magazine, because prior to that, all it was, like I said, it was like a ragazine, newsprint type, like not the reader is too nice,
just like a zine type thing, photocopied.
It was like,
not photocopied at that point, probably.
So
it's so insane. There's like no Xerox, like
that is crazy. So until that magazine, the information about BMX was just through friends or these like little things you'd see.
Yeah, little local, papers, like a newspaper that someone would make that. So you had no clue. San Diego scene and the LA scene or whatever, the NorCal scene. Did you even know
if there was guys riding on the East Coast at this point?
I wasn't paying attention to any of that.
It was just small.
The world was small.
World.
The world was small. You just had your local scene, or you knew Los Angeles. Kind of that's.
And then NorCal was like a different country.
It was like a different country, yeah. But LA was, was big time with like the epicenter of BMX, as we were talking about. All the big brands started coming out of LA and stuff like that. And then they had early factory riders and stuff like that. So you'd go to a race up in LA and you'd like, oh, there's Stu Thompson. There's, all these guys that were those names from back in the day. They were there because they were sponsored. They were the first guys sponsored. They had all the latest, newest gear and stuff like that. So how did I get to move to LA? So that my artwork, I submitted my art. Bob Osborne that had BMX Action, liked what I was doing. I saw him. There was a track up in, it was called Ascot Park, which was by the 710 and the 405 freeway, to give you kind of, where the Goodyear blimp is up that way. Anyway. Yeah. So I met him there. He liked my work, and he said, "Hey, you can draw for the magazine." I don't know what I got, $25 a drawing or something like that. And I was like, "Okay, wow, I'm in." So that was the beginning of my, formal published work in a magazine and stuff like that. And as a kid, I didn't have any direction, and I didn't have any aspirations to go to college. Mm-hmm. And I basically had, my skill was, doing art and, drawings and stuff like that. My parents get divorced, and my dad sells the house and tells us boys, there's three of us in the car. He says, "Hey, your mom and I are getting a divorce, and I just want you to know we sold the house, and you guys need to find a place to live." So,
how old are you now?
I'm about 18, 19 maybe.
You're like, time to do it.
Damn. So I had just started doing artwork for BMX Action. Bob Osborne says, you can move up and live with us for, until you get on your feet and stuff like that. So that tipping point of my dad was a good guy, but he was going through a lot at that time. Yeah. So, that tipping point in my life was, I moved up to Los Angeles, and now I'm living with the publisher of the magazine and his family. I go to work, and every day my job is drawing for a BMX magazine and learning how to do, page design and ad design. I'm the junior working underneath the art director who's laying out the BMX magazine. Mm-hmm. He didn't know I really rode. He knew I raced because I had gone to the races and stuff like that. But I was doing freestyle then. Yeah. I was super, doing all the early freestyle tricks and stuff like that. Or as we called it back then, trick riding. So, that was the opportunity. Pops, sells the house. Mom and dad get divorced. I don't know what I'm going to do. Bob Osborne says, move up with us. I move in with them. Now I'm 100% immersed in BMX. I work for a publication. R.L. Osborne is my roommate. He's 17. I'm 19. And
he's only 17, the guy who owns his...
No. Bob is his dad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Bob is so older, and then RL is a legend in his own right as well.
Okay.
So I work all day at the magazine doing magazine stuff in BMX, and then at night, him and I are riding, or we take breaks in the daytime and we're riding bikes. So,
and then on the weekend, excuse my ignorance. This is Wizard Publications.
Wizard Publications. Okay. All right. So, at that time, there's lots of night races going on. So during the week, there's 1 or 2 night races going on. Weekends, there's races going on. So it was just 24/7 immersed in BMX. So, probably in your guys' career as well, something happens that all of a sudden you're just all in. You're like, I can't draw enough. I can't ride enough. I'm just like, I'm like a drug addict on BMX. Yeah. That's all I'm doing and stuff like that. And, now you're starting to show up in the magazine. So that fuels you, your art or your creativity or your images of you riding. It just like, couldn't wait to go to the 7-Eleven and look on the newsstand. You got your date in the car. You just happened to stop by
those magazines.
7-Eleven. Yeah, they were everywhere, dude.
Ride was too.
Right. Yeah, it was.
That is great.
Do you know the circulation of BMX Action at that point?
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, because I think at the peak, though. Like Ride was making 7-Eleven. Like 90,000 copies, 120,000 copies or something. Like at the peak, like early, like late 90s, early 2000s and stuff.
Yeah, I forgot that shit was in 7-Elevens.
Yeah.
So I took the opportunity.
7-Eleven was the internet. You had to go on the rack and find what you liked and research it.
So the Osbornes had to be a bit of like a dynasty already at that point, right? Like Wendy's a photographer.
Yeah.
Bob's the publisher. RL is a superstar in his own right. And then he had his own, a fledgling superstar like coming up or whatever, I'm sure as well. But he was part of the magazine as well too, correct?
So Bob Osborne, he was a fireman and his son was racing BMX, but he was also a fine art photographer.
Yeah.
So he started BMX Action magazine, but he was still a fireman at the time when he started it. And then the magazine takes off. I'm giving the short story here.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
His son, RL, was 13 or 14 years old, but he was a really talented BMX rider. And he was stylish too. Wendy, his daughter, he, taught Wendy about photography, and she also had a good eye. She was, she became quite a photographer as well. Mm-hmm. So he had his own staff, which was all his family members, and, the beauty of what Bob Osborne did with the magazine and stuff like that is he really curated the sport. He really, with his fine art photography skills and how he photographed riders and these really, and you'll see in the book that I gave you, Dennis, is the style.
We got a new puppy just for the people who are not beating the kid in the background.
That's not my
stomach. Sorry.
But he really, the style of the sport.
He made it look like something no one was seeing.
Because we didn't go as, we did really cool stuff, but how he depicted it made it really even cooler.
Professional photographer.
He was a pro shooter. So us wearing, the other side of things in this era was, us wearing gear, wearing, helmets and jerseys and all of that stuff. All of that was on purpose. He wanted the magazine not to look like just a bunch of, ratty kids. He wanted us to all look.
That's a sick cover. Yeah. That makes you look at it.
Yeah. He always wanted us to look like we were professional. Yeah. And so he was.
So even when you're doing freestyle stuff, you kind of had a race kit.
That's where all it came. It all came in. That was by design. Later on when the next generation of riders, the Matt Hoffmans and many other riders came on, the style of the sport changed. But back in those days,
everything looks like a bunch of racers at skate parks and dirt jumps.
And that was it. That was kind of the look and the feel, but it was by design. He made a point of how he depicted the sport.
1985.
And
then he had you living at his house too.
That was it. Yeah.
He had all these kids that
we were all
talented and then adopted you.
That's it.
Was the wage you were getting from the magazine, was it like an actual full-time job or was it livable? Like where's the
livable?
Yeah.
It was,
$25. I realized the date, it obviously,
well, back then, you don't have a lot of overhead. You
lived there for free too?
No, I probably was paying
a little rent.
Well, you have to remember, you probably, I didn't have a wife. I didn't have a kid. I didn't have, I didn't even have a new car yet. I had a ratty old car, So your overhead was pretty low.
Yeah.
Gas and food. There's no phones. There's no
7-Eleven hot dog was cheap.
That was it.
And did they have those?
You could eat them back then.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So no, it was a bit of the Wild West. It was, it was good fun. And again, like there really, there were so many different brands coming up.
Yeah.
Everybody had an idea. Everybody, if you were a young person, like myself, and you had an idea, you could probably make a go at it, and then the magazine gave you a voice too. If you had something that was a good idea, they featured in the magazine. And then, the cool thing about that era for me was, Oz was Bob Osborne. We call him Oz. He was really into promoting like young people being entrepreneurs, so being a young guy and having an idea and because Scott Breithaupt was a young guy when he started SC Racing. He was a couple years older than me, but we were all still pretty young. He was 21 maybe. And, but Oz was big on promoting. He'd show a feature of you, and hey, this is a new product from Bob Haro, or this is from Scott Breithaupt, or this is what's going on. And, Redline is making this and Webco's doing that and Mongoose is making this. And, it was a good time. It was fun.
How long did the magazine period last? Or was there overlap?
I was there probably until, I don't know, 83, 84.
Okay.
I was still doing freelance work, but I was on my own. We had a falling out, of course, and what I mean by that is Oz, helped me a lot, but also I was close to being like his kid in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I grew up, I lived at his house, under his wing, I'm working for him, and he's pretty, dominant kind of character. He's a good guy. We're still friends today. And I really give him a lot of love and props because, I was a young kid with, I had talent, but I had no direction. Yeah. So he was a guy that he recharted my course. At that time, my dad, I worked at a supermarket as a box boy, and I had a classic moment with my pops. He's like, "Hey son, I hear you're doing a good job at the supermarket. If you keep it up, you can be a checker one day." So, if I didn't meet Oz and I didn't submit my artwork, I might be a checker. Still.
That sounds like the spark. It sounds like it sounds like the first spark is you sending in the artwork, and then the second one is recognizing like, hey, this kid has some talent, and then obviously with
this new influence of this awesome dude who's a fireman and also a talented photographer and helping his kids blow up.
I heard that he always had a really good eye for spotting talent, and then curating that talent is a skill. That is a skill in its own. Yeah,
he was good at that. The thing with the sport back then, he made heroes. He created heroes.
Yeah.
And through the photography and how he depicted the riders, he made us look heroic. Yeah. Made the stuff look heroic and stuff because we didn't have any heroes. Yeah. It was just the beginning of a sport. So.
Yeah, he was helping create the heroes and also like all the innovation that was happening daily, almost probably with these new bikes. Like he had crazy stories.
He had so much power. Honestly, like in that sense, because he could make heroes and deny heroes. Truly talented people are like, it kind of burned me. Like, let's feature this guy. Not saying in a malicious way, but
you worked in publication.
Yeah, I mean that's how it was, and it sounds like that's how it was, but the magazine made riders better than they were. Or like there was a couple riders over the years that weren't really that good that were like professional riders, and once they kind of got out in the real world, it's like, they're not really that good. And then it also
that's crazy, because it was just a photo, and this guy could be getting a lot of photos in the magazine.
Yeah, because he's boys with the photographer, and the photographer is really good, and then it gets maybe not even directly connected with the magazine, but the magazine, because you have all the photos to select from, and you're like, dude, the photographer killed it in this.
Yeah,
and there wasn't even video back then.
Nah. Yeah, there was video, but it was really expensive. Yeah. And video gear was really big and cumbersome.
Wow. So the photo was everything.
The photo was everything.
The words. Don't disregard the words, because the words are. Think about how many times you read a magazine when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But you had other avenues. You had early internet and stuff like that, where these kids
in the beginning, those pretty much just magazines. But
you had video. You had videos. So
DVDs, the VHS.
But these kids had nothing. Yeah. You literally had this magazine, and that was the Bible for at least 30 days, if not more. Yeah.
You had to wait.
And so they read it.
Did they come out monthly?
Yeah, it was.
That's why photos had such big impact. There's people from that generation resonate with certain photos. like because it was everything and resonate with certain riders and certain articles and everything, because it was, you didn't just scroll past and get something else and get something else.
Yeah.
Sit
down at, I love how nowadays, way off topic, but we've talked about it on the podcast before, but like books are coming back, like prints.
Yeah.
There's not magazines, but people are making books, you know, like today I was sitting down looking at Rich's Monster Freak book.
Oh yeah.
You just sit there and it took me forever to get through. And
it's cool.
I kind of zoned out and probably wasn't being the best dad. I got stuck. My son's just throwing stuff at me. I was like, this is a crazy book. You know, but totally off topic, but the magazines.
We'll bleep that part out. No one will know about that.
No, it's all good. Okay. Yeah, that's his. That's Dennis. That's not a puppy. That's Dennis's kid crying in the background.
It's 10:30, son. Go to bed.
That's it.
Okay, so a couple years at the magazine, and then you're seeing. It seems like you got the business bug, the entrepreneurial bug, via other people, or just. I mean, you said it was just
the business thing came about when I was still living in Spring Valley.
Okay.
I was still riding dirt bikes, and I had plastic that I had made I made number plate on my dirt bike.
Okay.
I could speak. And I had extra plastic, and I had my BMX bike and my sister's boyfriend, John, who I used to ride with all the time. You know, we all have a buddy we always ride with, maybe most of us. Anyway, so I made a number plate for his bike, and I made a number plate for mine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the shape of the classic, you know, number plate that I made, the factory plates. And I cut out contact paper, and we went to the races, and they were an instant hit because everyone else was running just round plastic number plates, or at that time, they were
you had this archway.
Plates. What's that?
You had this archway up the bars and everything.
That was it. Yeah, that was the number plate. So that started the business, and that started. You know, it was called factory plates because factory was a cool word back then. Hey, you ride factory, you're on the team. You know, that was the term. So it wasn't until later, and those were the early ones. They were all handmade like that and stuff like that. But
this is yours.
Yeah, I hand cut all of those. I'd make everything. I'd have a big sheet of plastic.
And that's you. That's yours right there.
That was an
ad.
That was an ad that I made. So, you know, I'm still living at home. I had started this actually when I was still at home. I hadn't moved up to BMX Action yet.
Okay.
So I remember, look at it says May 79. I would have
that is
plastic.
So cool. 79.
Yeah.
That's a Redondo though. So maybe this is a little later.
I was doing it earlier, even earlier, but you're jogging my memory.
No,
but I remember having
you kept doing the plates, even moving up to.
The number plates were huge.
Yeah.
Huge. So I remember being at my mom and dad's house and have a sheet of plastic, and everyone's in the living room watching TV. And I would lay on, I would have the plastic on the floor, and I made a little cardboard template of that shape, and I'd mark it out with a Sharpie, and I'd sit there with an X-Acto knife, and I'd cut out all the pieces of plastic and stack them up while we're watching TV. So that was the start. And then when Mom wasn't around, I would bend them on my mom's stove in the kitchen to give them the shape. So anyway,
that's cool.
It's a silly story.
And
that's where it started.
Is this so?
It's not a silly story.
That's awesome.
Real
and
quick, what it looks like that's like the Olympics.
That's it,
like
right? That's it.
Look how many people there are in those stands watching this.
It's Photoshop, 79 Photoshop.
Yeah. There's no Photoshop.
That's at the LA Coliseum. That was at a football game, and we did a halftime show.
Okay,
not a halftime, but we did a demo.
Which was a demo race.
It was a demo race, and they all of a sudden pulled out all these wood ramps. And then, you know, all these
AstroTurf ramps.
Dude, those things were brutal.
Dude, it looks brutal. Look at the
transitions on those.
Yeah, man.
It looks like they almost put.
And at speed, you hit those things. It wasn't. Yeah.
You can see everybody's going at an angle to hit it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't good.
So this is before they were bicycle motocross action, and then changed to BMX action.
Yeah,
correct. Okay, so that goes to show how quickly things are evolving, because they're like, oh, BMX. That's now we go by BMX. We're not bicycle motocross.
Well, trick riding was what the first article came out, and there's an article from BMX Action called Trick Riding. It's called A Whole New Thing, and it was me. I was featured in it because Oz didn't know I knew how to ride, or didn't know I do these tricks. He knew I race BMX, and
so his magazine was just BMX.
It was BMX, racing. And then they did a.
I wonder if that pops up at all.
Yeah, they did a feature on it. They did a 2-page spread on it. So it was called Trick Riding then, and it wasn't later until I did this little handbook here. Okay. Because again, there was no videos, dude. There was no videos on how to do tricks and stuff like that. So we made this, and my friend D. David Morin, who helped do the writing on this.
Is that a first edition?
That was, no, this is a replay. This is the very
I know
first
it's
one.
Not a first edition.
And so Dave worked for Surfer Publications out of San Clemente. Surfer Publications also did Skateboarder magazine.
Okay.
And they did Action Now magazine.
Okay. I've never heard of Action Now.
Action Now, you need to Google that. Right. And so anyway, Dave said we should call it freestyle, not trick riding. He says that just sounds cooler. So Dave helped with that, the moniker of that, and then we started using that. This
is Dave, the guy that worked at Skate Mag.
This is David Morton. Yeah,
isn't this the same guy who told you Factory Place isn't a good name?
That's Dave Dash.
Oh, okay.
Dave Dash. Yeah, Dave Dash was the publisher. D. David Morin was he was.
Oh, there you go.
One of the writers and stuff. Yeah,
this is sick.
Go back one, dude. So see the one with the luge guy. Keep going to the left.
Guy. Oh,
left.
This guy.
Yeah, right there. So that was on the cover there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
there you are.
Trickster turns.
He's got a sequence of like every trick in here.
Trickster turns executive.
Yeah.
But that was.
I'm still on the boat.
No. But that's how you learn trick. Like you had never.
There wasn't videos.
You couldn't see.
Was people doing sequences yet? Because that seems kind of ahead of the time too. Like
they had motor drives and stuff like that, but it would only be like 6. It'd be like 6 frames a second or something like that. So there would definitely be some reshots and doing it 16 times or something like that. Yeah. But
we sold a lot of those there, but that was the beginning. That's if you wanted to know no one knew how to do it. They'd see a still image of a ramp and a guy doing a trick on a ramp, and they're like, "How do I do that?"
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, we started doing this stuff, and then the magazine started, showing sequences of how to do a trick.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's pretty archaic
now. It's so nuts. Like I always just try and put myself
landed or not.
Yeah.
You just see like
we crashed plenty of times.
They landed every single trick that was ever in the magazine.
Yeah, not one mess up.
Yeah. It's so
I always the title. Look at it. Skateboarders.
Action Now. Haro BMX.
So
magician.
This magazine came out. This was early.
Still not born.
So 81, you're still not born?
Still not born.
So you guys.
So where are we at now?
So you guys have to. So this is Skateboarder, which is Surfer Publications out of San Clemente. Skateboarding is huge.
Yeah.
So they do this magazine called Action Now, and it's everything about like
just action,
extreme sports.
Yeah.
It was mountain biking was started, BMX was going off. Luge. That's speedway riding. I mean, it was music. It was everything. So. Snowboarding is blowing up, all this kind of stuff. Moto's going off. So they were covering all of these things. So it was a great idea, but they were too ahead of their time.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to the early 90s, X Games comes on and takes all of these action sports, packages them.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's the perfect time. And go back to what we talked about earlier with BMX Action and creating heroes. For me, was watching X Games. They needed heroes. Tony Hawk becomes a hero. Dave Mirra is a hero. Shaun White. All these guys. These were the early heroes of action sports.
Yeah.
In the big leagues now that X Games is behind them.
Yep.
This is my interpretation.
No, that's
you know what I mean. But
that's crazy because those guys are heroes. But I'd never really realized how that happened. But it's. X Games is huge for pushing them.
Yeah. Well, X Games had a lot of random things too back then, those days. And, luge and what are the other
They tried a lot of things out.
Yeah. They threw it against the wall, see what stuck, That's really what it was.
Sick. So many of those things were sick.
I mean, it's sick. Yeah. For a little bit.
I would still watch it.
That sounds like is that a bumper sticker? It's sick for a little bit.
It's sick for a little bit. Yeah.
No, hell no.
What is it? I'm going down the rabbit hole here. Sorry.
The left is from Europe. BMX Action.
Oh, okay.
That's the Bible over in. If you're in England, that's the Bible.
That was their dig.
That was there. Exactly.
Got the Vans high tops on.
Yeah.
Everyone's still rocking Vans back then.
Crazy. Yeah, so it's funny because you see Invert, and that's Ride UK, And then you have like BMX Action Bike, which is obviously like but they all were like mixed together, like.
Ryan, when did you come onto the scene? Were you first a rider, or were you always on the editorial side?
Yeah, no, rider first. Yeah, so like Gary Young and I grew up together. Literally, our moms met when we were like 3 and 5, and so he's the one that got me into riding, but not until I was like 15 or so. So that'd be like 96. When X Games was in San Diego. Yeah, I was a little kid. I remember like skitching, but at that point, like holding on to cars was like popular, so we just hold on to cars, and that's how I got to the X Games, like just holding on to cars and just driving there. And so, but yeah, I mean, it was like, it was an interesting time to me, but it's so much is happening, and that's why it's hard. I feel pressure when somebody like yourself or Volker comes on, because I'm like, dude, you guys are a little bit before my time, and it's hard, and definitely before Dennis's time. And I'm
sitting here taking it.
But I feel like everybody, I feel like everybody knows it's before your time, so it like falls on me to ask these questions. Yeah, and I don't. I really, I've read some books that I have up there, but I mean,
I don't think anyone.
Unless you live it, like it's impossible to do that. Like I have my version of Volker when I was a kid, right? But I don't know all the stuff that was actually happening because I was 15, like 16
to you, correct?
Like, yeah, definitely.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Seems like you almost started the whole thing.
So what do you,
that's why I was asking the questions in the beginning real quick. Cause I know you were like the beginning of all this, but there was already like these bike companies doing it. That's why I was like super interested. Like,
there's always the, claim to fame of who did it first.
Yeah.
When I was doing freestyle, there were other guys they were riding pools and stuff like that. Yeah. That was going on. I feel comfortable saying that I was the first guy that really packaged it. Went on, bought a van, bought ramps, went on tour, promoted it, free of charge, traveled the United States, went to Europe, first time, no one's seen freestyle BMX, Australia. So
no one had seen it over there yet when you brought it over there?
I got invited as this, they'd see these crazy images of California blue skies and a guy doing aerials, and they like, hey, can you come over and do a demo at a BMX race? Because BMX is full on, BMX racing. So I was the one trick pony out in front of everybody. I was this, the stunt show guy out in the middle. So I feel good about that. You know what I mean? Yes, there's people that were probably and were riding in pools and doing all this stuff,
airing higher somewhere in Nebraska or something.
Or doing something, know. But I feel comfortable in saying that, put a lot of energy and effort into taking it and formalizing it. Turning it in, going on the road, like I said, buying a van, building ramps, making things portable, working at the magazine, making drawings so people knew how to make ramps, how to make wedge ramps, how to do all this kind of stuff, doing, making a handbook, making all these different things that we did. First freestyle frame and fork, all of this stuff.
Freestyle frame and fork.
Haro Bikes, my brand, we did the very first freestyle frame fork. That's why those celebratory bikes that you've seen that John Bulgens has made and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was, again, a time when BMX racing was everything.
So when you were a kid in Spring Valley, those were race bikes, basically.
They were race bikes.
Okay. Yeah. Because when you're saying all these brands, I'm like, damn, that was already, they were doing this.
They were doing it. So
that was race, though.
It was all race. Everything was race. There was
you guys were just taking the race bikes and taking them to the skate parks and stuff.
So when I had my first sponsor, official sponsor was Torker, Torker Bikes. I was riding for them, and I was doing artwork for them as well. And I went on tour and had a Torker bike, was my bike. And on the road, you drive down the highway in the middle of the night and you're talking with your teammate who was named Bob Morales. And we're like, man, I just got to come up with our own bike, make it a freestyle bike. Again, everything's race. All the money is in race. Pro riders are getting good salaries, all that stuff. So I came back and then I met with Torker and I said, guy's name is Steve Johnson, family-owned company out of Fullerton. I said, I have this idea. I want to make a freestyle bike, but I want to use the basic platform, but I want to change the geometry and add some other features, but I want it to be under my name, the Haro Freestyler. And that's where that was born at that time. So again, the luck of things too is I had a sponsor that had a small company, and they liked my idea and they liked me, and we did small batches of frame sets.
Are you funding that? Totally
no, I'm.
So it's like
we
for them,
we were selling tens of thousands of number plates at the time.
All right.
No, dude,
the number plate thing was a real business.
I wish I had number plates.
Your mom's
nowadays.
oven is busy.
No, now we have a factory. Now we have a factory that's making them. I've got a full shop with like 25 people there, and we're bending number plates and making BMX accessories up in Los Angeles. So
crazy.
So yeah, it was a good time. So I had a little bit of cash flow at the time, so I could buy the frames and start it. But we did small. I don't know what we did, 25, 50 pieces at a time. Is it going to even sell?
Yeah.
And at the time, the other lucky thing I think is fortunate is most brands didn't pay attention to freestyle. They were so busy doing BMX race.
You had no competition.
They had no competition. They didn't take me serious, So that gave me time to get traction and get this little thing rolling.
Yeah.
And kind of got,
They were slow to the start.
But then, as you know, later in the early 80s, then all of a sudden everybody was coming, every brand had a freestyle bike.
So how did these original 50 pieces, 25, 50 pieces take off? Did people just grab them right away, or was it kind of like,
was it like objectively better?
Yeah.
I mean, it had to be, right?
I say it was because yes.
Well, I mean, like, what are the for the young kids in the room? Like, what is the difference?
I think I would like to think that I was one of the leading pros at that time. So I was riding all the time, and I was fit, and for me, this thing worked really well, and so. Like you with your models, dude, you're the authority on your model. You knew it felt good. It felt good. You knew it worked, and all of that kind of good stuff. So,
did people buy them and love them, and then it started repeating?
Well, absolutely.
The Magoo podcast, Magoo worked at Torker.
Yep.
And he explicitly said that he was in the marketing. I don't know, at that point he was sales or something. I'd have to excuse my memory of it, but he was like, what are we doing? We're stickering 200 Haros and we're stickering 50 Torkers. Like, don't you see that he's onto something and we are not, And
so he was doing that while
Bob
was running the show.
Yeah.
He was back there
he was back there seeing, I think he was stickering them possibly. Wow. Like he was doing a bit of everything at that point because that was one of his first jobs.
Oh, wow.
And it was, and so if you haven't, that should be the first one you should listen to. And it's going to take you a while because it's 5 hours long.
Oh my God.
So
podcasts are fun though. You listen to a little piece at a time when you're on the drive.
It starts off with a story about Diz Hicks shitting on somebody or getting shit on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's.
I don't have any stories like that.
No, I figured not.
Not that I want to share anyway. Maybe bad food in Mexico, but that's another story.
So the Torker Haro relationship, how long did that go on for?
It was a great relationship, and they gave me a start. They gave me an opportunity. There was somebody that believed in your idea, and gave you they had a factory. They could make stuff, and then I could, as a designer, I could make it how I wanted. I used their basic platform, but we modified things, and. So when I say small batches, we did small numbers in the beginning to see if it would even sell, and they sold. And then we kept selling more, and then the brand was building and developing and stuff like that.
Was it word of mouth at that point?
No, we were running, again, you have to go back. BMX Action was out. BMX Plus is out.
Yeah.
There's magazines now. You see in Europe, there were magazines. So
there's places for ads.
There's places for ads and stuff like that. So I'm going to sidebar here because your beer has triggered me again.
Good.
Dales.
So in those days, the other thing, I had met up with the guys at Surfer Publication, Skateboarder magazines, and Skateboarder had beautiful, iconic photos. If you look back then at their publication, their magazines were huge. So a lot of fisheye, but really awesome images. So I meet a guy named James Cassimus, who is still my friend today. James Cassimus works at Surfer and Skateboarder. He's one of their lead shooters. And I team up and start working with James, and James starts shooting exclusively all my photos for me, whether we're doing the freestyle book here or images for ads and stuff like that. So again, I mean, I didn't art direct James. I would just go with James, and he would find all, he'd come up with these amazing images. So it was sport and it was also art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was what's really,
and they make
really
a big
cool.
difference if you have somebody that is, polished in this outside of arena, and then coming in and they're technically either they're better or they're just different.
James
to the
came
norm.
from skate and surf. So all of a sudden he's shooting me, a BMX guy, on ramps, which is familiar to him because he shoots a lot of skate stuff.
Yeah.
So James really kind of gave me a look.
Yeah.
I owe a lot of credit to him for making, because I never went as high as, the riders do today and things like that. But he made what we did look really, really cool.
Yeah.
And made it pretty iconic and stuff like that. So all of these little things contribute, to kind of, the evolution of the sport, me as a rider, me as a personality, in the sense of, you're around other talented people that elevate you, and or give you an opportunity and stuff like that.
It's the saying of the surround yourself with the people you want to be with, that type of thing, there's always that, you getting this hyper, growth, the words and the speech and stuff surrounding it. But you have the BMX Action thing with Bob. You is Factory Plate and Haro separate, or are they the same now?
Factory Plates, no, it's part of Haro Bikes.
Okay.
So what happens is, go back to the Skateboarder magazine days and Action nowadays. Guy that's the publisher of the magazine his name is Dave Dash, who just recently passed away. Rest in peace, Dave. Good man. I'm having dinner with him and in Long Beach after one of the early ASR Action Sports retail shows, which were the early Action
huge
Sports
back
shows.
in the day. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
So I'm with him and he's, we're talking shop and stuff like that. And he's like, I think you should, these aren't the exact words, but basically I think you should change the name of Factory Plates because it really limits you.
Mm.
I go, what do you mean? He goes, I think you should use your last name for the brand because it's more broad. It doesn't mean, you have factory plates. You gotta have to make number plates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave was the guy that gave me the idea, and then I changed it from Factory Plates to Haro. And then Haro became the number plate. If you look back in those magazines, we were on everybody. Every best rider, best teams was a Haro plate.
Boom, right on the front of their bike.
Yeah.
We were right on the front of every, whether it was a GT team, Diamondback team.
So that was a huge thing too.
So that was a massive marketing.
Yeah.
Even when we were looking through it,
dude, we were everywhere. So it built up, all of these teams, built up.
So no
and
matter
thanks
what,
to them, they helped build up the Haro brand name. I'm doing freestyle bikes. I'm no threat to the BMX race community. Bob's doing his freestyle thing. Go do that little market. These are factory plates here. Yeah. So when eventually we start doing BMX race stuff, all of that stopped. Yeah. So. But no, we got lucky not lucky, but it was just timing. The timing was good, and the brand
amazing
name
marketing.
The brand name was good, and the product was great. So
when you say lucky, do you feel like you were purposeful at a point with it?
It wasn't, we weren't being devious. We had a good product and people liked it, and we sponsored riders, and paid them to run our number plates and visors and kind of high visibility products that we were making at that time. Then later we came out with the pants, the Haro pants.
Yeah.
And I put the logos, as you see on I put the logos on the shins. And the reason was, if you look up a picture of Mike King, BMX. It's good you know how to type fast.
I do. I'm quick.
You're good, dude.
Been doing it for years.
So one of my look at that shot right there.
Yeah.
So I would look at the pictures, and
that's his actual Facebook page. Shout out to Mike King.
Yeah,
look at that.
So
that's a sick photo.
So this is from.
So
Windy.
did this guy ride for Haro?
Yeah, he was.
Dude, are they using?
He was on like Huffy there, but he was riding. He was on
Huffy, but look, Haro.
But they're not.
Haro.
But they're not making. They're not making bikes.
We weren't making BMX race
pants
bikes
company.
then, but
it looks
we
like
made
Haro's
the pants,
this guy's biggest sponsor,
right?
So we sponsored him with his whole kit, and I put the logos on the shins, and that was purely for visibility.
Yeah.
Because everybody else at that time was up here on the thighs. The big JT logo or other logos, GT, whatever it was, were on the thighs. You can't see it.
Yeah.
So I put the logos on the shins, and it's, we're all tucked when we're riding and stuff like that. So that's where that came from. The chevrons for Haro brand.
That literally was my next question.
Those were just a design aesthetic on the knees of the pants.
Okay.
That's all it was. I just thought it was a cool stripe on the pants. And then later, we had a discussion. Oh, we should use that as a trademark. And that's where it came from.
Crazy.
So it was just a graphic. It was like,
40 years later, that's still Haro's graphic. Has not changed.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Like their thing is like, you have to have the chevron, that's like that and Haro are together.
They go together. Yeah.
You don't not have the chevron logo.
That's incredible. I mean, the stain power of a logo for 40 years is impressive. I mean, that's a feat in itself.
So we had a number of years where GT, Diamondback, Riders, and many other teams were running our Haro pants, gloves, maybe a visor. But things were very influenced from motocross back then. We wanted to look like moto guys, so that look was super cool. So that really helped build up the Haro brand name back in those days.
They look like, from nowadays, it look like you're fucking going to outer space or something. Like they literally, it's like, imagine like, I'm going to go ride bikes. And you're like,
a bit of it was like you put on your kit and you transform.
Yeah.
You went from being just this dude to all of a sudden you put all this stuff on your you're like ready to do battle.
But you wear these same shoes that you wear everywhere. Right?
Exactly.
You need where's the boots at? That's the only thing.
Did you guys have shin guards back then with those?
We did.
With those fucking bear traps?
Yeah, we did.
Jesus.
Oh, those are terrible.
God, they were horrible.
Oh yeah.
So that was the look and feel of the brand back
Honestly,
then,
I feel it. I don't know if it's the Dales, but that photo is fucking sick. Like, I feel like it's like one of those ones where there's like a California storm rolling in the background. So it's like dark and moody in the background, but the sun is hitting him. And I'm like, it's so high. It's not a flash. Like it's coming like from way up high. And it's like, dude, it has a sick photo. Thank you, Mike King, for having this as your Facebook. And your
marketing too. Just this guy rides for Huffy, but
I know, right?
Well, Huffy had money back then.
Yeah. And they're picking up new people.
What? Right.
Go back a click. Let me see.
I'm just saying, it's like he rides for this company, Huffy, but
dude, Mike King's still sending it.
Yeah, he is. He's still out there. Mikey's still out there. He's got the face, but it's all style. The look changes, and that's he crushed it back then.
So he ended up riding for Haro full time at that point, or is that still? I was like, if he rides for Huff, he's fucked there.
No. He's now on Haro, and in this photo here, this was
because you guys went to racing too.
We went to racing. We developed a BMX race program. And
not you guys. I know Haro's into racing, but when you were running the show,
when I had the company, we came out and we had Mike King and we had Pete Lonkarovich on our team, which was another. Pete. He was a super fast rider. If you look up Pistol Pete, maybe
I've actually met Pistol Pete before.
Good guy,
yeah, amazing
guy.
Dude.
Yeah, two dudes, two races.
So.
We'll just go to images.
Yeah.
He's got a Wikipedia page.
So go over a couple over.
Oh, sorry.
Dude.
This one?
Yeah, right there. So Pete's on our,
Group
we
one.
signed Pete and he's on our team. Mike's on our team and we just have a powerhouse team. At this time, you have to remember our freestyle team was, Brian Blyther, Wilkerson, Dave Norrie. Who else was on our team at that time? My memory's failing me. But we had the powerhouse freestyle team.
And are you the team manager of that? Or are you the one who
I'm the design guy. I have a team manager. My brother was a team manager, and a guy named Bill Hawkins that worked for us was a team manager. But Ryan, on that photo on the right,
down here.
No, go up. Oh, sorry, but can you click?
No, you're good. Okay. It won't get any larger on the site, really? Unfortunately. Yeah, that's why I stopped back.
That image. So again, the aesthetic of who we were as a brand. You know, the bike, the kit, the plate, the glow, everything freaking. You know, I don't know. I was super influenced by motocross. I love the look of how motocross guys look.
Oh, there we go. So finally.
So this is, you know, our guys rolled up on the gate and it was tight. The whole look was tight. Yeah. Everything. But yeah, we had money then. The sport was big, the money was good, and we could afford, you know, the best riders. And yeah, it was a very fun time in the sport.
Was there any drama of you kind of like? It seems like from if that were to happen nowadays, where you had this number plate and then you had clothing and then you had all your clothing and logos on a rider for brand recognition, and then you're like, now we make a bike. And we're competing.
I'm sure that we weren't popular.
You know, like I feel like if that were to happen nowadays, people would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there was a bit of that, but I have to say I was kind of in my own bubble at that time. You know, I was at that point I had retired from riding because I had gotten hurt too many times. And I was now starting to become afraid of getting hurt. And then you start really
That's a bummer. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so,
and then I retired as a pro or retired, like you didn't ride at all?
I didn't ride at all because I kept injuring my knee and my shoulder. I kept blowing my knee out and blowing my shoulder out.
So you were straight focused on BMX business. You weren't even riding.
Because I was already doing all the design for the brand, for my little brand that was growing, and it was, you know, getting traction and stuff like that.
My little brand,
you know, my business. And then the other side is I made a decision. I have another sidebar on that. I made a decision that I didn't want, because I saw the riders do this. They kept riding after they were hurt, and they didn't get better. They kind of got worse and then worse and worse. And I didn't want people to say, that guy should have stopped like 2 years ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I hate to see people keep wrecking themselves to get the glory. And then my other reality was we had just signed Mike Dominguez was on our team.
Yeah.
So I'm now 24. Mike Dominguez is 15 or 14. And so we're riding out behind the shop on one of our quarter pipes, nicer quarter pipes now. They're really shaped properly and everything else. And, you know, I'm warming up. I'm getting, I don't know, 5-6 feet out. And then, you know, Mike goes out. He's not even warmed up. He hits the ramp and he's like 9 foot out. And I remember sitting in the parking lot going, I think my days are numbered. You know, I had a moment. I'm like, he's 14. I'm 24. I'm banged up. I was like, you know, I'm going to, after I got hurt again, I said, oh, okay, I'm done now. I'm just going to shelve it. So
it's funny from the, you know, the era, because it's like Scott Bryhop was known as like the grandpa, and he was like 26.
He liked to perpetuate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so the idea of like being 24 and done is like absolutely abnormal now, you know, where like dudes don't get in their prime until like 26, 28, you know, because they get better and better and better forever. And then obviously, I guess, ignoring the fact that probably tearing your ACL back then was a lot more major than it is now. Was there like reconstructive surgeries for that stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I just...
Still don't have an ACL.
I just kept getting hurt, and you know, I don't have Matt Hoffman's pain tolerance. You know, I don't know how Matt does it. Or did it. You know, for me, I was like, things hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. But
it's, I mean,
and I didn't like when you start declining. You're like, now I'm holding back because I'm afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's a hard mental battle, and especially when you have something going on, you're like,
especially all that other stuff that he has that is pulling him away, and it's like
you had like multiple roads to pick, not just like I have to stay over here and make this career. You're like, that one looks pretty good too. Yeah. Like you're excelling at that one, while the pro rider thing probably was feeling stagnant or declining.
Well, so, prior to you know, Dominguez and all of the other great riders that we had on our team and our race team, I was the promotional vehicle for the brand. I was the guy doing freestyle, going on tour, in Europe and Australia and across the States and stuff like that.
We don't have to listen to this, but I thought this was a good mashup of you and Dominguez. Kind of
us welding.
Well, yeah, you guys are super good at welding too.
Look at this.
Well, I got one more aside because one of the first things that like a side topic was Magoo podcast again.
Yeah.
Apparently one of his first jobs, like first notable things that he ever did at Torker was fire you.
Did he?
Yeah, you don't remember?
No, I don't remember.
That makes it even better.
He didn't do it with any force that I recall.
Early Magoo. Late Magoo would have done it with some fanfare and some confetti and some, a night out on the town maybe or something.
I feel that Magoo has something for me. I don't think he likes me deep down inside.
Maybe.
That's kind of what I feel. I don't have any, feelings one way or the others, but I don't know. I sense something. And then I do remember that when we did our bash, this is a story I heard.
Okay.
That when we did our bash guard bike, that Magoo had access to the photos, the press shots of our bikes, and he gave them to GT.
Ooh, dirty.
And GT came out with their bash guard bike at the show.
And was it the first ever bash guard bike?
Yeah. So
yeah. That's like some Ford. That's like some Ford and Chevy stuff back in the day.
That's what I heard. Magoo, if you're listening, please set the record straight. But that's what I heard.
Yeah.
So I don't have any angst.
I will say that he said it in a sense of revere, in the sense that like he was green and his first thing to do was to fire you, and he was firing the Bob Haro, and it was got
fired.
Because you were wearing, I guess, Torker had pants or something, and you were wearing Haro pants and just not repping Torker or something.
That one doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
fired as a rider.
I was close
for Torker.
I was close personal friends with the family.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Magoo, help us with this conversation.
Magoo 2.0.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is awesome that you don't even know.
Oh yeah. That's always a good thing. That's what I mean. That's like
I fired Bob.
Yeah, that's the difference is that like at that point it was a big deal to Magoo, and I feel like Magoo remembers it probably somewhat vividly, but then Bob is just like, well,
I was
whatever.
Yes, let me know. I do remember getting fired from BMX Action magazine.
Oh yeah.
So that again, the relationship with Bob Osborne and myself was like a son in a way, and he helped me a tremendous amount, and my business was growing, and I had my own ideas, and so yeah, I remember at the where was I? I was at Pontiac, Michigan, at the Superdome. We were doing a demo there. So
Tyler Finagle,
and I had departed the BMX Action trick team. I was doing my own thing. And, they have those big tunnels at stadiums. Those, you come out of the tunnel where
there you go. There it was the last time I was there.
Oh man, that's crazy.
I shot that photo.
That's amazing.
You like the football guy tunnel?
Yeah. The football guy tunnel. And I remember Bob Osborne poking me in my chest saying, "Haro, you'll never amount to anything."
Ooh.
Just before I was going to go out and ride, we had our moment. I remember, you're
he's saying your last name, not the brand too. It was like,
he
didn't call you Bob. He called you Haro.
Yeah. Like poking you. Here's a man poking you in your chest. And I love the guy. I love the guy. I love the guy. We're still good friends, but it was that was a serious deal. That when someone tells you
poke you in the chest, they fudger, you're never going to amount to anything.
Yeah,
no,
that's big.
No, never.
I know.
That's that's motivational.
Prove you wrong. Yeah,
some like older brother friends thing, but
yeah.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. Some dad stuff. Like,
it was.
Why did he feel that you weren't going to amount to anything?
I had left. We had a falling out. I don't know why we fell out exactly, but I was now, I've gone from being a teenage kid to now early 20s, and you got your own ideas now, what you want to do and how you want to do it. And, you're defiant. And, his son was, is now Mike Buff and R.L. Osborne. They're on, they're the trick team.
Yeah.
And I'm on the outside looking in. So it was back in an era where Bob wrote, now I go back to what you talked about earlier, power of photography and words. All of a sudden, I don't show up in the magazines anymore. I'm not in BMX Action anymore. Somebody writes in and said, hey, man, what happened to Bob Haro? And Oz writes, if you don't have anything nice to say, like my mother always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, you don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was the response to what happened to Bob.
Leaves it so open-ended.
What happened to Bob Haro? And that's what he wrote.
That's what I mean. Like, it's
Something
like an absolute power thing. Like you crossed him, and that was like, dude, I mean,
but did you cross him?
They
like crossed each other,
you
weren't fully listening to him anymore.
Be a teenage kid like we all were, and you growing up and your parents don't want you to do something and you want to do it, and they're not happy about it. So
that's crazy.
So that was my official.
Did it have like a real effect on the business side too? Or I mean, obviously you overcame it. Like he still accepted ads from you, right? Or was there other magazines?
BMX Plus was happening then.
Okay.
So BMX Plus was happening. And there were other publications.
In the popularity scale, is Plus bigger than BMX Action at that point? Or
BMX Action's the biggest.
And then BMX Action turns into Go at some point.
Yeah, it turns into Go later. Yeah.
Later.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I have one other topic. I don't know where does ET come in?
ET?
Oh.
The extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
The movie.
What were you in the movie?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's cool. I didn't know I was either.
I've seen ET once when I was. You're really in ET? What's going on here?
So yeah, again, this is early 80s. Early 80s. BMX is blowing up, just incredibly. And I really think that ET had a massive impact on the sport of BMX. Because all of a sudden Spielberg...
We can watch it while you...
Spielberg gets a hold of... I'm the guy on the left in the green army jacket.
Okay.
So here we go. This is the chase scene. This was shot up at Porter Ranch in Los Angeles. That's me on the camera bike right there.
Okay.
I'm the last guy around the turn, a little moto style. Watch it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The little knee out.
Knee out. Again, the jacket.
Yeah.
You got the leather jacket on?
Yeah, it's a little army. So yeah, I'm second right now. I'm going.
Dude, I hope you're the guy. I hope you're the guy.
This is me closest
that's
to
you?
camera.
Dude.
That's closest camera.
Yes. I was like, I hope that's Bob because he has the best fucking style. Like the first tuck.
That was me. So
dude, I always,
right
that
there.
Style right there. I was like, that dude's fucking sick.
So what you don't know here, it was
No
about,
way.
it was
Seriously,
about,
always.
I don't think I've ever seen this.
No?
It was about
I've seen clips of ET. And I don't think I've seen the real movie because I didn't know there was BMX.
I was getting crossed up. Usually what you do when you're getting chased by the cops. So here my job was, hey kid, we need you to ride over the top of this car and we need you to knock the light off. So watch what happens. That's the little cherry on top. So there we go, flying by. So I had to knock that. That was it. That was my instructions.
And do you know the other guys?
I know some of the other guys. Yeah.
This is what Spring Valley used to look like.
You were the camera bike, huh?
I was a camera bike. I had a hard mount on the back of the bike with a big 35 millimeter camera on the back. Or whatever size it was.
I don't think I've ever seen ET. I can't explain how happy I am that you're the guy with that fucking steezy tuck. The steezy tuck right there again. Hell yes.
That was my jump.
Dude, I'm unbelievable. I'm like more hyped than you.
Now watch what happens here. Right. I crash right there. Go backwards. Go back. So and then stop it. Not yet.
Let's see if I can time this.
I'm right there.
Yeah, you definitely ate shit.
I'm out of shape. Yeah. I'm out of shape right there.
It looks like a big drop. It looked like 6 feet.
It was a good drop. Yeah.
To flat, straight to flat. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm out of shape there and I crashed.
I never noticed that before. That's funny.
It was in the hundreds. It was about, I don't know.
100 takes?
No. Like
100 degrees.
Hundreds degrees.
We shot it in late summer.
And it looks like it's winter.
Well, they shot it
California
late summer
winter.
in Los Angeles.
And you have to wear this army jacket.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did this?
I don't know. 21,
Okay.
20. Something.
Movie came out in 81, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, filming it in 79, 80.
Yeah. They redid the film now. They don't have guns anymore.
Oh, really?
They have walkie-talkies.
That's so
if
funny.
you look back, and they're all holding shotguns and everything else.
This is the OG one.
Yeah,
they had the shotgun.
They redid it. See, everyone's...
So... my questions related to this, I have like 6 questions basically.
Right.
Like,
here we go.
How much did you get paid? How'd you get it? How much you get paid? What effect did it have on you personally? What effect did it have on BMX as a whole? I guess that's 4.
I think this kicked BMX into high gear.
Yeah.
Because BMX now is on, it's globally seen all around the world. Here's a
Most popular movie in the world, right?
Major motion picture, and by Steven Spielberg, who just came out of Jaws and things like that. All of a sudden, he features BMX. Yeah. I mean, I run into people today. They said, "Oh man, I used to watch BMX. I mean, watch ET all the time, and we'd emulate the chase scene and doing all that kind of stuff."
Wow.
So it was like, the deal.
Is this one of the first times BMX was on?
This was the first, I think. Yeah, there was
Rad,
like
any given Sunday, and there was Rad and stuff like that.
So it needed like there wasn't enough cameras to film BMX. It had to almost be on like a real movie.
So go look up.
I mean, this was the most popular movie in the world for like 15 years.
Yeah.
So you did all that stuff with the van, the portable ramps, going to Europe, but also like you're the guy
who's making
jumping steezy,
who did the steezy thing. Like, like I was older at this point. Like I was 15 when I probably, or 10 or something when I saw this, but like,
he's the one you watch.
Yeah. It's like, he's the one in it. And when I watched it today, I was like, that's Bob. I was like, it has to be Bob, but I never knew, dude, I was like, I mean, even this
up when the cops are coming.
Right.
That's cool.
So how'd you get the gig?
Never would have thought.
I came back to my office, my little office up in Torrance, and I had a young secretary that worked for me, high school girl that used to help me out, and she said somebody called from a movie, or somebody called for about a movie, and I put a note on your desk. You remember back in the day, they had the little pads of paper where you're like, hey, so-and-so called, and they tear it out and they give you the note.
Yeah, when you had to actually write words with a pen.
Write. So anyway, I looked at it. I'm like, okay. And I just was doing my work. And then I finally called this person. His name was Jerem Schwartz. Jerem Schwartz. I called him and he said they're working on they're coming out with a film and they're looking for some BMX riders. So they're going to have a casting call up in Los Angeles at Porter Ranch, which is on your way to Valencia at the bottom of the hill before you go up the hill there.
Okay.
So we meet at that site that you saw there. It was a construction site. And we meet with the second unit director. I think it's Glenn Randall. Glenn Randall was the guy that worked on Raiders of the Lost Ark. I didn't know this till later.
Yeah.
And his team. So you have to fill out paperwork. They take headshots. And then they want to see if you know how to ride. So we had to go ride those terraces and all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of the just showing up. And he's like, yeah, we're going to pay you guys $50 a day to come out here and ride. I'm like, $50 a day? I just drove from Redondo Beach or Torrance to LA, and LA has lots of traffic. And I said, dude, it's not really worth my time and stuff like that. And he kind of pulls me. Everybody else were younger than me,
Yeah.
So they came out there with their parents. I was, solo. So anyway, I said, he goes, what do you want? What do you want? Or something like that. And I'm like, $350 a day. He goes, okay, deal.
He saw the steez.
That was
you probably could have got like $4,000 a day.
Dude.
Yeah.
It's fucking Steven Spielberg.
No.
Right. I mean, it's a long time ago.
It was, I didn't know any better. I never been in any film.
Yeah.
So for me, it would have been nice to have a bigger payroll.
Yeah.
But the better story is that I got to be an ET instead of saying, I negotiated a deal and they didn't take it and I didn't get in the film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
they would have let you they probably their budget was probably so big, but they still were like, let's get as little out of these kids as possible. You get work because you're a kid. You don't know any better. You know, you're young. You don't know the importance of it.
I didn't have an agent like you did. Brad Lusky wasn't around yet, or whoever is handling.
If I was a kid though, and I got drove by my parents to do something like that, agent.
You know, no, hell no. I'm the worst sales guy on the planet.
Come on.
But being 20 and driving yourself there and knowing, like, dude, I just spent this much.
I mean, that's real.
This much time.
Yeah. I call that the get out of bed rate.
Yeah.
You know, or it's like, or like, you know, non-BMX stuff. When it's always BMX is different, but like when it's non-BMX stuff,
think about how much they pay those kids nowadays for a Steven Spielberg.
Well, they're SAG now and shit, so they may not even had SAG.
We were scabs. We were scabs. We didn't have representation.
But that's such a crazy part of the movie, though.
Yeah.
Like epic.
Yeah. That's
even if you're not a BMX,
that is the chase
like,
scene.
Look at these guys riding those bikes like
this. This video has 200,000. I mean, 17 years ago. I didn't know YouTube's been around. Congrats to YouTube for being around for 17 years. So it's like the oldest video I've ever seen on YouTube.
That's just the chase scene, though.
Yeah, it's just the same chase scene. So
many
people
people
looking for it.
Yeah, they love it.
Look up like ET. Actually, just go to my website and look under photos.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, Bobo Haro.
No, I already have it. See, look at that. You see that? How quick that came up?
No, that's it. So.
That was one of the questions that I missed.
So these images.
Oh, whoa, that's cool.
So these images, I told James, I'm now working with, James is my pal. We hang out all the time. I live in Torrance and Redondo Beach area. He lives in San Pedro. So I tell James, dude, I'm working on this movie. I want you to come out and bring your camera.
Yeah.
So James comes out on a movie site, and it's just a, I
mean, this dude doesn't have a shirt on right here. It looks
awesome.
It's that hot.
Yeah.
Dude, it's blazing hot. So anyway, James shoots all these photos for me. There are no other photos like this. These aren't on Getty Images or anything else.
Yeah.
We just happened to capture this moment. And James, and this is just some of them. We have more shots and stuff like this. But this was of making the chase scene. And I can't believe how lucky we were, because we worked on this set multiple days. And this day we just happened to be doing the chase scene.
Yeah. And
all the other days we weren't doing the chase scene.
So this is the one day that James showed up.
James shows up and we're shooting the chase scene for the movie E.T.
Really cool
and
photo.
He documents it. You know what I mean? It's like,
look at that.
Shout out to James too, because this is the one. I mean, they're all good, but like this photo, it's like the way he has the cop cars framed up and the crew, and then you guys are cutting through without any obstructions. Like I was like, dude, this guy, I thought he was a set photographer. I thought he was from the production company. No, I was like, this guy is. It's the James, the surf and skate photographer. It makes sense.
The crew even looks so young.
Yeah. It looks like a ragtag, they have buckets and fucking bricks behind. I mean, I'm sure those are called Apple boxes, right?
Yeah, Apple boxes. Yeah.
I know what I'm saying, dude. I know what I'm talking about.
All the cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty classic.
Dude,
old
crazy.
Motion picture cameras.
And the important person is underneath this, and then this is the not important person
holding the shade thing.
Yeah.
So the guy with his hands in the air is it's Glenn.
This guy right here?
No, down lower
right
left.
Here. Oh, okay.
That's the boss.
Oh, that's the
super
boss.
Nice guy. So that's Glenn.
So is
Glenn
Steven
Randall.
Spielberg in this crew?
No, he would come out and everything would be set up, and he'd roll up in like one of those station wagons, like up above.
Yeah, and
he'd roll up. And he'd come out and look through the camera. He'd look through the cameras, check the angles, and then he'd walk off. And then they'd shoot everything.
Nice to be the boss.
It's good to be the boss. Yeah. So yeah, those were fun photos.
What's his role? The producer, the director?
He's the producer.
Producer. Yeah, it just depends on how hands-on they are, because they have it all storyboarded out, and then you have the director of photography, and then you have all these, you have the director. Yeah, and it's like Spielberg is like the producer. Is the one
look up the boys of
he's the money.
The boys of E.T.
Yeah. The boys of E.T.
Yeah.
I'll just go with that. Oh, there you go. BMX Boys of ET.
So this is us. That's me with my mushroom haircut. That's Spielberg in the captain's hat. He just came out.
You're in the red shirt?
I'm in the red shirt. We're riding Kuwaharas there. Those are like prototype Kuwaharas, and they're getting ready to do the scene where.
Is this before you guys are selling Haros? So you're on prototypes?
This is before Kuwahara was. Well, Kuwahara was a brand.
Kuwahara.
Kuwahara. Yeah, it's so funny how he's hard.
Kuwahara.
K-U-H. I'll be able to say it.
K-U-H.
So that's not Haro. I thought you were saying cool Haros.
No, cool Haros.
That's why I was like
Kuwahara.
Kuwahara prototype.
No, it's a Japanese brand.
Kuwhara.
Give me a vowel for 10, please. So we're setting up. See the little cherry on top of the cop car there?
Yeah.
So we're getting ready to set up that shot where we come bombing down the hills and then we ride over the cop car. Or that was my job. So we're all getting set up there. So there's a couple other shots there too. One of
Hollywood's most iconic scenes.
Yeah, dude. It really is. I mean, like E.T. Like what was the movie that bumped E.T.?
Mop. I don't know. There was a lot of porn back then.
No.
And it was out of the valley. So I don't know.
Probably a James Cameron movie. Wasn't
Jurassic Park.
Oh, that was it.
1993.
Who made
So I think Spielberg is too.
Spielberg?
Yeah, he's crushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and James.
Yeah. E.T. was a monster.
Yeah, 12 years, wow. The most popular, well-grossing movie of all time.
Amazing.
12 years. That doesn't. I mean, it held that record for a long time. So,
that's huge. Might be the longest.
And then, there's your photo.
Yeah, they borrowed.
Or James' photo.
Borrowed my photo. James shot it.
Yeah, cinema letter.
Yeah. It's out there in posterity. Go back one. I think you're on another page. One page, I mean. Okay, no, the boys of E.T.
No, that's fine. Maybe if we do an image search, it shows up.
Yeah. That was a tipping point for the sport. Definitely.
Anything there? That one?
Yeah, that one there. So that photo there's Spielberg on the early Kuwahara bikes. And that's Howie Cohen in the white shirt. He had a brand. He had a company called Everything Bicycles, and Everything Bicycles put together the bikes that were used in the film.
Okay,
so that's where that came from. But
did you see recently how much the bike sold for?
I saw that. What was it? $28,000?
115,000.
Yeah, there you go.
For that bike,
no, I don't know if it's that one.
These are the movie bikes. The bikes are actually used in the film.
I have the link.
Who the hell buys something?
We talked about it on the news. That's the only reason I really know about it.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was months ago, but
yeah,
we talk about it a lot. 115,000.
Holy smokes! Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess it's last year, almost a year.
Yeah.
I'm pretty close to the day.
You could just remake that thing.
Yeah, but it's that's the one.
Who cares?
Like, dude. I mean, let's look at this. The screenshot of the Bob Steez taking it. Nobody even sees that bike.
Invented Steez.
That's it. They didn't see the X up,
the cross up and then the crash.
That's Robert. He was in the film.
Oh, okay.
Robert. So
yeah, he's the one. So he got to keep the bike. Did you have the opportunity to keep the bike? You didn't give a shit.
Robert worked with Howie Cohen at Everything Bicycles.
Okay.
So he was close and he worked at Everything Bicycles. So he knew all the stuff that was going on. I was busy, I'd come out and do my thing and then I'd leave.
Yeah. Was it hard to ride a bike that obviously, at that point, I'm sure dimensions were all over the place at points.
I don't know.
Yeah. You just did what you did. Yeah.
I was pretty good shape then, so I could do it. You know what I mean? Not like now.
Impact on BMX as a whole. I think you kind of touched on it, but it really did. Like, I feel
absolutely.
It blew it up.
I blew it up.
Yeah.
E.T. blew it up. Yeah. I mean, Rad was more like, that was popular too.
Yeah.
It's kind of iconic
slow burn
cultural kind of.
It's crazy how the mainstream things will really blow something up.
Yeah.
Like unexpectedly.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a kid, do you remember the cartoon Rocket Power?
Yeah.
That's like for kids my age. It was like skateboarding, surfing, BMX. Even though they only rode BMX a little bit though, but it was like,
that's crazy. I had no idea what that commercial.
Yeah. It's like a cartoon, but they all they were like action sports kids, and they lived like, it was like a San Diego place they lived.
Crazy.
It was the same shit as that. That's like what I remember. Like
that's cool.
The kids riding mountain bikes and BMX bikes. Because I don't remember this.
Any regrets? Like obviously, I don't think you realized how big it would be. But was there
in doing this project? No, absolutely none. I mean, you can look back and you can say, I wish I would have had representation and stuff like that. So, maybe you could make more money out of the deal. But the bottom line is I got to do it. It was, became such a worldwide phenomenon of a film. It helped propel BMX in a big way.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm stoked. I try not to look back with too many regrets. That would make me crazy. What's the letter on the far right? The image on the far right.
Oh, I think it's like a letter of like authenticity.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. This is that's Robert Cardoza. I don't know who wrote it. So.
Well, Robert, I love his signature. It's like he's been hanging out with Donald Trump.
Yeah, looking like he's pretty good.
I know
honestly.
Robert. Yeah. I know Robert. He's a good guy.
He's the one who sold it.
He's the one that like certified that it was real.
Oh,
like kind of the provenance is like the the whole story is legit. And I was there, and it was blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I can't believe that price.
Dude, insane. Most expensive BMX bike I ever sold, guaranteed. There was like gold-plated Mira bike. There was like the Nigel, whatever.
How much did the gold-plated Mira bike go for?
Not, I mean, a tenth or a fifth of that. Oh, really? I mean, that crushes it. I mean, that was like, I think that was the most expensive thing from that auction because there was like the model of ET that everybody thought was going to go for more, and then it was the bike crushed it.
Wow.
Like, because I think it's such a seminal pivotal moment of the movie that it's like having that is like says more for some reason.
Go down in the lower
museum or something.
Lower left, the camera bike shot.
Yeah. Just all screenshots from the movie. But that's like that's saying it's like that's showing the bike.
So I'm on the left. That's there they had a rig off the back with the
GoPro like
no,
-7.
They had a big camera. They had a big camera off the back dropout, mounted. Just but a great perspective.
Like 35 millimeter like film camera, which is insane to imagine.
They made a rig also for the actors. So if you see the actors riding, the bikes aren't swinging.
Yeah. Because they're on a car.
They're riding like this because it's on a trailer. You know?
Yeah.
So the bikes are all mounted and stuff like that. So a little funny stuff. There was other shots that we did in the film that didn't get used. We shot some stuff in one of the 2-story houses. We were to fly out of the upper part of the house, land on wood down below, and then ride away. I don't know how we got in there, but that was one of the scenes. And then they had hired they had a stunt guy that was there. He's kind of a shorter stunt man that was going to show us kids how to ride our BMX bikes out of the 2nd story and land on a platform, pallet of wood and then ride out. And he was a little cocky. And I remember we were all sitting in the back of the room, and he's kind of like, "Hey kids, let me show you how it's done." And he rolled out. And, there's a deck, the deck doesn't have a rail on it yet.
Yeah.
And he goes to roll out and he doesn't have enough speed. He just drops the front wheel and hooks up the chain ring, and he freaking endos, and he lands on his freaking head on the platform of wood.
Oh.
And we're like, okay, we didn't laugh, but we kind of laughed, what I mean? Because he was a little bit arrogant about like kind of showing us. And so then we shot it, but it never made the film.
Yeah.
We shot a little piece there, but I just remember that. So always stay humble, people will have a little pity for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
so how long does Haro stay your baby? Like what's that era until you decide to sell it to whoever you sell it to?
So I incorporated the business in 1978.
1978.
And then I sold it.
So it went from plates, pants, and then started making
lots of accessories.
Yeah. Because I saw the gloves and all that stuff.
Yeah. We made number plates were first. Number plates, numbers. We made gloves. We made jerseys. Mm-hmm. We made the jerseys the kind of iconic jersey that you see with the big H. we made pad sets and what else were we making? And then we started, T-shirts, of course, stuff like that. Made bags, made bike bags, gear bags and things like that. And then I started making the freestyle frames.
That's the magazine in you, the editorial.
We have to say I'm French. So we made, the freestyle bike was the first hard part thing that we really made. I had a brake lever too. We made a brake lever also, plastic brake lever back then. And then, but the frame set was the tipping point. That really got us into the bike game.
Okay.
And then the business was growing. I was riding a lot, and I hire a guy from Kryptonics skateboard company. They made wheels in the skateboard market. So his name was Jim Ford. So I was struggling a little bit with the business, mostly just, the business was getting bigger than I could handle and trying to do everything else. I didn't have any formal schooling on being a business guy. I was just winging it all the time. So my friend D. David Morin, that gave the name of Freestyle to Freestyle, he says, I got a buddy of mine. He lives in Colorado. You should meet. He could probably help you out. So I meet Jim up in Redondo Beach. The interview was super high tech. We go to Mexican restaurant and just drink a bunch of margaritas and we hang out, and he seems cool and I think he's cool and he thinks I'm cool, and we put together a deal. He becomes the business manager for my company.
Okay.
And
Jim Ford
does.
What year is this?
This is 80, probably 81, 82, 81, 82 right there. So, Jim really, it's like getting a new, I got a manager for the band finally.
Yeah.
Somebody like now helps kind of formalize the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so
you can still be the lead guitarist.
I could still be the guy out there in spandex. And so
like that.
Yeah. So Jim is, he's super mellow, just kind of gets things done.
Mm-hmm.
And he really helped with the business, organize the company, and allowed me to be a rider and be a personality to the brand, allowed me to be a designer. That's where my sweet spot was. I could just work on creative things. He'd take care of all the back end stuff, facilitating, buying things, paying for things, blah, blah, blah.
Can you give some context of how big Haro is at that point? Like how many employees there are, where you guys are getting the bikes made, how much money, whatever. I mean, you don't have to say money, but.
Well, I think at that time, again, we're still back in the
82,
80s. I'm 21 years old and I have a, company that's doing more than $1 million a year just in number plates and accessories.
That's insane.
And
so sick.
We were just selling everything we could. We probably left so much money on the table because I didn't know how to ramp up the business officially, but or was trying to anyway.
Yeah.
But when I had it, and I sold the company in 78. The company was doing almost about $7.5 million a year. So
wait, did you say sold the company in 78?
No, excuse me, in 87.
87. Okay.
So 87, we put together a deal and I sell the company to a brand out of Los Angeles called West Coast Cycles.
Okay.
West Coast Cycles is big in the cycling market. BMX is huge.
Okay.
They want a piece of BMX. So we had a conversation and we put together a deal, and they gave us a lot of horsepower.
These 80s are just booming. When
80s are
Jim
booming.
Ford, he's managing everything.
Yeah.
You're getting to do your creative side.
Yeah.
It's just
ET comes about, Rad comes about, all the brands are, you can't sell enough product. Riders
you can't even keep up.
Riders are traveling, everyone's got a team, lots of factory riders. Competitions are starting to happen. Bob Morales starts the AFA,
King of Skate Park.
King of Skate Park's going on. All of these things are happening, but they were still super grassroots. These weren't big, huge, they weren't X Game events. They're like, if you're a rider, to be up at Upland because there's a contest in 2 weeks or whatever, or something's happening in Venice Beach or something's happening at the Velodrome up in Los Angeles or something like that. So But there was that core community, you know.
Still core. There's no
it's
TV.
Super
so
super core.
On the
no.
Who?
Wow.
Do they approach you? Do you approach them?
They approach me.
Okay.
They approach me.
Was it
87? You said you're doing like how much sales?
You're doing about $7.5 million. Yeah.
And are you trying to sell the company? Is that a thought in your head, or is it money you're like, fuck the world money? Like,
no, it was
$7 million in 1987. I mean, not that's how much they paid, I guess. So let's not get. I got excited.
Yeah. No,
that's not the dollar figure that they offered you, but
yeah, it was. You know, it was a bunch of different things. It was. I had kind of taken the business as far as I could take it with my skills, and it's probably time to team up with a bigger organization that can help really elevate what we're doing.
Okay, and
it wasn't as much fun at that time too. It was now business. The business was business. I had started it. I didn't do the whole, company to get rich. I was just doing it because I was enjoying it and having fun, and I was making money at the same time.
I think that's what I was talking about with the purposefulness of it. Is that things tend to happen, and then you react to it, and then it gains steam, and it becomes like this snowball that just like gets more and more, and you're reacting to it versus like, I want this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there's cause and effect. I mean, Dennis, I'm sure with your career, you're a talented rider, passionate, and all this stuff, and all of a sudden things start happening. You get sponsors, and people like what you're doing. You're doing photo shoots, and people are signing you up and sending you money, and you're like, wow, I guess I can do something with this. And that was kind of my ride. We didn't, like I told you in the beginning of the story tonight, is, family wasn't sophisticated. They weren't in business, It was just a kid with an idea starting out of his bedroom, starting a business, and it turned into something.
Yeah.
But then just evolving as a person and as a creative, and the creative side for me on freestyle is an art form. It's, you come up with a trick and your friend does a trick, and I'm going to do this trick that's different than your trick or better than your trick. It's art and creativity and stuff like that. So for me, that's been kind of my BMX career, is, kind of coming up with ideas in a sport that I liked and was passionate about. And whether it was I was a rider, or me as an artist, or me as a guy that can create products and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then, so I think what you're saying is that original idea kind of fizzled out over the 83 to 87. And then you're like, I'm a bookkeeper, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing on the business side. And that's not what I started out.
Yeah, I think that it was that, but I think also, the business was bigger, and now we have dealers and distributors, and we're importing product, and we're buying things, crazy. And it was crazy. Yeah. And then you're putting your house up for the line of credit so you can get more credit, and you're doing all these things. It's like you're a grown up all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You're 25, 6, 7, and you're a grown up with a business, and you've got 10, 12 people that work for you, and then you have riders
with that much money coming in, though. There's money
payroll.
You're paying too, and that's pressure.
Yeah, you got all that other stuff going on,
and then this guy has a family, and if you fail him, and it gets real. When
25 to 27 at this point too.
Yeah. You're in your
like
20s,
modern California, timeline. 25 to 27 is like throwing alcohol in
a child.
Yeah. It was a lot of that. So. It's all good. It's all good. It's just, the timing, but shortly after I sold the business and we merged, is what we did. Merged the company with West Coast Cycle, is the business of BMX went in the shitter.
Yeah.
So it was good timing for that.
Dropped in 2 years after we did the sale. I did the sale. The business stops. BMX
early
kind of
90s
stops.
Was dead, right?
Well, this is late. Now we're in the late 80s, and all of a sudden the BMX market stops. And there's kind of the dark days of BMX. Yeah. And a lot of riders and rider-owned companies, and the riders that were making $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year, that all goes away.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had some interviews with guys like that.
A little bit, yeah.
Dave might have been on that. Dave Volker might have been on.
DMC talks about it.
DMC, all these guys, yeah. The money train stopped. And so it was...
An early Unclicked, a pre video one for the people that are like DMC did an Unclicked.
DMC, yep.
Yeah, a very, very early one. So if you haven't heard that.
DMC, he has a high word count.
He does have a high word count. Yeah. Can't open jars, but can still spin the bars.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Is that his line?
That is his line. You got no strength like that, but he can still spin the bars.
Great.
So.
He's great to talk to. I think he's actually said he's been through like 3 or 4 where it's like dead BMX, crazy dead.
Yeah.
He's been through all the generations.
Yeah.
He's like, it just goes up and down.
Oh, so he rode the wave too through X Games.
He did.
Yeah.
He's rode all the waves.
Him and Matt were the guys when X Games. They were the experts.
Yeah.
And they rode.
He's got to be about similar age to you.
He's a little younger.
A little younger. Yeah. So he's been.
Yeah.
He's seen a lot too.
When you sold the company, were you still was part of the deal that you were still involved?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was there for
what was your role?
Creative figurehead and creative director, if
okay.
you will.
All right. Cool.
We didn't have titles. It's just you knew what you were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what your job.
So
is.
Haro's kind of like that now.
Yeah, I don't know what my old brand's doing. My ex-wife's doing.
I actually have that in my notes. You're like, Haro's like my old girlfriend. I like her a lot, and I don't know. I'm not sure if I should hang out with her because it gets all crazy.
And I drive by, and there's some other dude's car in the driveway.
I get that. I get selling it though, because at that point, those deals where it's like, hey, all the risk is now off your shoulders, and you get a yearly salary, and you still work for the company, and you're still part of what you love, and you can also pocket stuff for your future. Like, I respect those deals, like, because but it's stressful. It's stressful. It's got to be so stressful when you're not prepared for that snowball and how big that thing became.
So the cause and effect of, I do a deal with West Coast Cycle. We're doing at that time about $7.5 million a year in business. The next year we do almost 14.
Oh,
so they instantly
partnering up with them. They double it.
They did their thing.
They came in. They have 130 sales reps. They have 3 warehouses. They have big lines of credit. They have a super business machine. They know how to buy product. They know how to ship product. They know how to buy better than we know how to buy, because they, much bigger company. Yeah. They took our business. We were the darling of that organization for what we were doing, and it was a crazy time. Like, so that allowed us, it also, we had bigger marketing dollars too. So in that era, that's when we were doing race bikes, and we had the killer team that we had of, the best freestyle riders that were in the business at that time. And then we had the best racers, we were freaking dynamite, just everything was perfect. Yeah.
Shit and gold.
We had a lot of, we had a lot of horsepower. Yeah. We had great design. We had great products, the advertising. We were spending lots of money on advertising because magazines were big then, we were pushing really hard. And we were firing on all cylinders, as they say. But it was. And then we had a sales team that you make it, they could sell it. Yeah.
And then so that's 88 basically. And then the next year, just with the ass falls out on it, or
no, we had a couple years. Okay. It was probably the 89 things, I think, started getting wobbly. Okay. About that time. My contract was up in 93. Okay. So then I was out, and then I had a non-compete for a couple of years, so I didn't do anything in the bike business. So, and then when that happened, so I'll fast forward a little bit. It was kind of like a divorce.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. If you
93 you left.
So 93 I'd leave. My contract is up. And so I leave the brand, and so you got to think since probably the year, I was 18, I've been doing this. Now I'm 33, and I'm no longer associated with, I no longer work with Haro Bikes. I'm done. My contract's up. There's, Jim is now he's the president. He's got a new vision for the company. So if you look at Haro Bikes back in those early 90s, that 93 on, the design of the brand changes. So Haro Bikes all of a sudden has all these really super heavy bikes, the Blamo and the Zippo and all these really oversized, crazy.
Yeah, it is a different look.
Yeah, the aesthetic of the bikes looks really like department store bikes to me. That went away. Sure. There was nobody. I won't mention any names, but it was kind of the ugly stage of the brand at that time.
Yeah,
why did you leave?
Yeah, exactly. 93. I was like, your choice or their choice.
Stay? No, my agreement. My contract was up at that time.
Yeah, but it could be renewed. Correct.
It could, but Jim, who I hired and was working there, they had a different vision for the brand.
Okay,
it was probably like, thanks, Bob. We've got there's new management.
Well, that's what I say is that you're Bob at this point. This is your house. It's your house, even though you don't have your name's not on the mortgage.
Yeah,
it's still your house no matter what, and whatever you say probably goes. And at a point, it's like you got to put all. Not Bob Haro in the old folks' home, and let him go type thing.
People fatigue. I think the relationship ran its course.
Yeah.
Jim and I were still friends, but, definitely there was a new regime that had a new vision and what they wanted to do and things like that with the brand.
Yeah.
So, and who knows, maybe I was more, I don't know.
Stuck in your ways.
No, not stuck in the ways. Probably just, it was my house. It was my deal. If I wanted to do it this way how I wanted to do it.
I mixed it up, but like Bob Osborne, and it's like the parallel in the sense of like, you'll never amount to nothing. Like that's like it was his house, and you were trying to affect change that he didn't want. And it's like kind of the same thing, right or wrong. You guys could both be wrong or whatever, but
so it was
you didn't want to fight for it at all, though. You're just like,
no. It was
he was over. Yeah.
Well, no, it was. I was contractually bound at that point. They paid me. I had an agreement. Now I had a non-compete. I couldn't do anything in the bike business for a couple of years.
What non-compete means? You can't sign to another brand.
You can't start another bike brand for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's typical. It's typical.
You probably have them in your agreement, dude. You better read.
Probably. I mean, we had it.
That would suck.
Well, I mean, we had it
like
for ride if I took the.
I don't think I have that.
If I took the severance pay. Essentially, I was agreeing. I had a non-compete for a certain amount of time or whatever. But like. I mean, I don't give a shit. Like, I did it or whatever. Like, I broke it, but it doesn't matter.
That's how I bought this house.
Yeah. That's how I bought this house. Yeah. With the severance pay. Yeah, right. That's how I survived for 6 months.
So I have a couple of years. I don't do anything in the bike business. I build my house by the beach that I wanted to do. I'm hanging out. I'm going to the gym. Yeah, but I'm used to working. My whole life, I've always worked.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you feel retired at that point?
Yeah, I was
How old are you?
I was 33 then. 33? I'm like bored. I'm bored because
30. You can only effectively
building a house in Encinitas.
I'm going to say effectively a 33 retired millionaire.
So
multi-millionaire probably at that point for inflation.
Thank you. So
you're allowed to ask.
But all your friends.
I don't think I need to ask. It's probably true.
They all work and stuff like that. So you can all, you're going to the gym, you're surfing, you're riding mountain bikes because you're trying to stay fit, and you're partying and you're having fun. But I was bored, so I started another little business after that.
Mm-hmm.
So and I started my agency, Haro Design, because I'm creative with names.
Yeah.
And so I started an agency, and I'm not doing anything in the bike business. And I go to a show in Europe, and it's I don't know if it was in Milan or where it was, but it was the bicycle and motorcycle show was there. So I'm at that show, and I'm next to my friend's booth, and Thor Motocross is the booth next to my buddy's business. So I start rapping with the guys at Thor, and I said, "Oh, you guys are in El Cajon?" And I start talking to this guy named Jim Gallagher, who's the creative director for Thor. And I said, I do design work. I said, if you're looking for extra help. So all of a sudden, I start doing design work for Thor. In this, again, this is 93-ish, probably 93. So I start doing creative work for Thor. I'm designing, moto gear and things like that. And at this time in the 90s, motorcycle business is on fire. It's really a good business. And for me, I, was kind of a little bit of a fish out of the water. I just sold my business. I'd go to the Interbike show and, there you see your booth over there with your name on it. And it feels a little weird to go in there. Yeah. And when I first started going and visiting my old company,
girlfriend,
the old girlfriend was a bit of a dog and pony show. It was a little odd because, I don't have any affiliation with the brand, and, I'd get kind of paraded around. Hey, Bob, can you come over here? I want you to meet. This is John and Susan from, Pacoima, and they're one of our top dealers, and can they get a photo with you? And then someone else is saying, hey,
using
can you come over here?
Yeah. You're like a rider for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that didn't feel very good. Or come on by, we got free beers and stuff like that and hang out. And then I just had to stay away from, from
that's just like
my old girlfriend's house.
Yeah.
So that was, and so again.
Was that the Tony D era and Mira? I mean, this is Mira at this point. Like,
yeah, I was a young, again, 33, you're still pretty young. I never sold a company before. I didn't know what that would feel like. And especially if you have a business that has your last name on it.
Yeah.
That's your last name. So, it took me probably about 5 years to really kind of get my head around that transition of what that would feel like to sell your business that has your name on it.
Yeah.
And then know that other people are running it and rocking the name and all that other kind of stuff. So you know where the Panikin is in Leucadia, the old train station? Anyway, there's a coffee house there.
Okay.
And it's a classic. I was up at this in North County. I was having breakfast and a coffee, and I see somebody in line, ladies wearing a Haro shirt. And I go, oh, wow, nice Haro shirt. She goes, yeah, my son rides for them. Kind of cocky. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, that's cool. And then I just didn't say anything more because you didn't want to go into the story. Yeah. So it took a while. The things like that, things like that would happen.
Yeah.
So it took a while, some maturity, and then getting comfortable and kind of reinventing yourself as well. Because
it's your last name, your company, but to people from my generation, it's like Haro and Bike. It's almost like ketchup and tomato sauce, but it's your last name.
Yeah, it's a trip.
Because I don't think of Bob Haro when I started like learning what Haro was, Haro Bikes as a kid. It's just Haro. It's just Dave Mira, Ryan Nyquist.
You thought it was cool Haro.
Cool Haro. Really cool Haro.
Really cool Haro. Yeah.
That's a really cool Haro.
Yeah, I had no clue. It took a long time to learn all this kind of stuff.
Was there, what about the peanut gallery at the time? Like the industry or riders that you would bump into and stuff like that?
That was all good. That was always good. I always, I always felt like I had a good relationship, with the riders.
It's got to be nothing but respect
and stuff.
Yeah.
I always felt good about that, but, no, it was just, it's just a kind of evolution, as I've told you guys this story from somebody that started out of his parents' house as a teenager and then go through all these steps now to be a young guy in his 30s. There was a lot happening.
Yeah.
A lot of things happened and a lot of things that you weren't coached or you didn't know how to deal. You just kind of took it on the chin. You dealt with it. I remember going through things where, again, in my family, mom and dad both worked in a supermarket. Our family, I was the most successful person in our family. Mm-hmm. I was a guy that was in People magazine, came out we're back in the 80s, but back in the 80s, People magazine comes out and they do a story on freestyle BMX. And then this young entrepreneur that has this business.
Yeah.
Family members see this, says you did this many millions of dollars a year in business, I had relatives coming out I had relatives, not a lot, but a few that came out of the woodwork, show up at the door of your office saying, they need help and stuff like that. And
I'm your great uncle. Can I get $50?
All of that stuff's real. Like you hear whether it's, somebody in the music business that has all of a sudden they have great success and the, money that comes out of that. But you don't know how to handle it or manage it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think of my own career. Sometimes I use the analogy of what I've been through with what I've done. It's a little bit like being a pop star in a rock band, or you have this talent, you get discovered, you tour, you're on stage, you're on TV and all these kind of things happen. You make this money it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
And then one day, you know, your career kind of ends. And then you're like, and then you got to kind of rethink about who you are and what you're going to do next. That's the hard part. When all this is going on, you're swept away in this unbelievable wave, and it's super fun. And there's things that come in that wave, you know, like I said, with whether it's people that come out of the woodwork that want something from you, could be women that you've dated or family members that, you know, take advantage of situations. There wasn't a lot of that, but it did happen.
Yeah.
You know, and then post-career, you know, sell the business, post being a pro rider. Now what am I going to do? Post-business, now what am I going to do? That's the hard part.
That's a common theme on the podcast of what will ever fulfill me as much as this.
Yeah.
Man, that's hard, man. Like it's hard because your riding career is relatively short compared to nowadays, and your business career is also relatively short within this Haro aspect.
Yeah.
But but they had so much impact, and they had so much formation of who you are and what you have done and everything you've learned, you know, and it's hard to bounce.
Yeah.
Hard to bounce back. You know, I mean, I've mentioned a couple of times, but after the ride thing, I was like, do I continue to be me, or do I have to be new me and do outside of BMX stuff?
Right.
And it was hard to rationalize. So
yeah, it's a trippy transition.
Yeah,
it is but it's real.
Yeah.
You know?
Was there ever a real struggle with it? I mean, it seems like you kind of bounced into the design stuff and all that, but was there ever like, hey, I'm bumming around fucking Lucadia, and there's
I don't think
this chick's cute and this chick's cute, and I'm I'm rich, you know, I'm rich over here on my beach house, like, you know, I'm sure that's a easy trap to fall into. New girlfriend stuff. I don't know.
That's another podcast. No,
a couple more Dales. We'll get into there. What's that?
Yeah.
You guys
I got a little place down there, dude. I think you guys
a little brand, a little place.
You guys
Again, your concept of little is skewed because you said little brand when it was 7 million. So
well, you know, I don't know. I always try to stay humble. I think humility is really important.
Humble is cool, and I think it's cool for people to hear that you're doing well.
No,
if you know what I mean. Podcast, I notice you never like take all the credit. You always say it was we. You said use we a lot. Yeah. It was these people around me, which is you being French.
Well, it really is but that's true though. You know,
there's always people.
You got a team around you, man. There's people that help you.
Yeah. The whole podcast you've credited to people around you. You never say what you did. It's always like what happened.
Whether it was the magazine or it was James as a photographer or you know, when a funny story of, again, back working at BMX Action magazine. So Oz was really into these, Think and Grow Rich. Like there's these
self-help, success
books and all this kind of stuff. So we were a young staff, all again, late teens, you know, we're hanging out and we would sit and he'd put on these cassette tapes about the power of positive thinking and things like that. So one takeaway for me at that age was, you know, and Oz would write things down on the wall, like things he would look at to remember, to remind himself, like a story like you make your own luck. So, So for me, that was really powerful, you know, or visualize success, you know, and you put reminders up in front of you, like maybe you're shaving or you're brushing your teeth and it's there. You get in your car and it's there. What are you doing? What are you trying to accomplish today? Mm-hmm. So every day you kind of keep chipping away at it. And I always like the one, you know, you make your own luck. So go back in my story of a kid that submitted my artwork to a magazine. That changed the course of my life. Mm-hmm. You know, by doing that, he liked it. He gave me a call, gave me an opportunity. So I created new opportunity for myself. Yeah. So I totally believe in that. You gotta, you know.
I think at a point I corrected you because you said I got lucky, and I'm like, I don't know if you got lucky. Yeah. I feel like you saw an opportunity, whether or not it was conscious or unconscious.
Yeah.
And you were like, hey, I think I can do this. Whether or not you saw that it was going to explode,
right?
I don't think you did, but you just went after the thing and it just snowballed and it went from there, you know. And it's like, it's luck to a degree, but it's also that you sought after it, you know. And you saw an opportunity. Yeah. I feel like is the biggest takeaway.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of work in between it.
Of course,
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what time you guys have?
Well, you're good. I mean, we can go 5 hours.
No,
you got 3 hours left. You got 3 hours left.
I'll go a few
How's everything going for you now?
Yeah.
I got a couple. Is I kind of Jeremy McGrath, Bob Haro thing I heard rumors of?
Yeah, we're working on a new e-bike project.
Oh.
So with Jeremy McGrath.
You and Jeremy, huh? Another San Diegan.
Jeremy McGrath, myself, a guy named Eddie Cole that started Answer Products.
Okay.
Matrix. Yeah. And
Answer's the gear, right? Cool gear back in the day.
And then another guy, a longtime friend of mine, Scott Sepkovic, that was the brains behind Monster Energy. So he was the guy that went to Hanson's with the idea to do an energy drink.
Wow. So a few legends.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're working on we have a
couple of broke kids.
We have a new,
that's a crew. That's a cool kid.
Yeah.
We have a new e-bike project that we're working on.
What kind of e-bikes? Like the Stasics? Like
no.
Like Surround
more a pedal assist bike. So we're working on that. So
nice.
I'll share more with you here soon.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, we're working on that. How'd you find that out?
Sneaky guy.
One of my best friends really likes you.
Oh,
Josh.
Oh, I love you. Where is he? He should be here tonight.
I told him. He's in traffic coming down from Haro right now. He always takes your ex-girlfriend's house. He's got a long commute home.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
He sent me photos.
We're coming up to the party on Friday. Sitting in the warehouse. That's where his big jacket because it's freezing cold where he works.
Yeah. You just got married, didn't you?
Yeah. Josh.
No, Josh did.
It's an awesome wedding.
Yeah.
He's the man. Shout out to Josh.
Yeah.
I wish you and him both just ran Haro. Haro's great, but if you two just ran it, oh man. Do you ever think about going back to Haro? Just taking it back over?
It's a lot different world now, though.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's a lot
it is
different.
Fucking a beast of a company.
It's a different world now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because like you departing the Jim Ford era compared to like what it even is now, like that. Yeah. Dude, it's a
I guess to give
of a company.
Jim Ford recently retired, but he
recently he wasn't there the whole time I've been a part of it.
No. Yeah, he was. He retired like 2 years ago.
No, that was Joe Hawk.
Joe Hawk. Oh my God.
Joe Hawk was a badass. I love him. Shout out to Joe Hawk.
All right. Well, then I apologize to Joe.
Jim Ford
I was like, do I add that to the time code list?
No. All
right. Shout out to Joe Hawk.
Yeah. All right. My bad. Dude.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Joe Hawk was there 28 or 29 years.
Yeah.
Because Jim Ford was before me and I've been on Haro for I don't even know how long. I'm 16 years.
Oh, wow.
Like
that's
that.
insane, right?
Half my riding.
Longer than you.
Exactly.
We're thinking about changing the name.
Yeah, it'd be Anderson.
Yeah,
it's kind of nice.
You'd be like that sounds way better than seeing Haro everywhere.
I don't know. Brands are funny. You know, they can be super cool and they can be very uncool.
Well, staying power is hard, and hard. 40 years of brand. It's incredible.
40 years. That's how old Haro is now?
Essentially, if not more. If not more, yeah.
It's 40, Haro and Odyssey probably have to be the two oldest like freestyle brands.
So for me,
they were the first freestyle brand technically.
Yeah.
So I look at like Mongoose, that was a prestigious brand back in the day.
Yeah.
And now it's a department store bike at Walmart or Costco or something. I don't even think Costco.
No, Walmart. Yeah.
Walmart. Excuse me.
It'd be sick if they had some dope BMX bikes in Costco.
It would be cool. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the brand, 30, 40 years, the perversion of it over the, in the sense of like the technical definition of it is it changes over time. And it's like, it gets weird and it's like, but we need those brands. Right. Like I will beat that drum time and time again that like those, you get the Walmart brands that don't give anything to BMX, and you have the Walmart brands that sell their bikes there, and then they try and intro a kid into BMX, and they have the cool team,
right?
And they bring them in, and I think that's part of the ecosystem.
What's Hyper all about?
Same thing, and it's like, but they do toys, they do a bunch of crazy shit. So
they sponsor a lot of riders too, right?
Yeah, they sponsor a lot of. They sponsor a lot of riders, and all that's their bread and butter is Walmart, and it's like. They don't have to. Wow. They could probably sell those bikes no matter what, but that's the whole goal. Is that the dude, Clay, like he rides BMX on an active basis still, and it's like or Shane. Sorry, I always mix them up.
Very
Clay's the dad,
though.
and
like
Shane
they don't have
is the
any
son.
street riders or
which one?
Flatlanders.
Oh, Hyper.
Yeah,
it's all the park. It's all kind of park nitro stuff. So before, is there anything else? Is there anything else you want to get to? Because I did do a little did do a little member questionnaire, and there's a couple.
Before we do a couple questions, anything you want to say?
No, there's more to chat about. Maybe there's another opportunity.
Let's do it.
And things like that.
Dude, I would love to. Yeah,
I think where we left it off is the the segue from Haro Bikes and then what came after.
Yeah.
So what came after, there's a lot of other stuff.
There's a whole bunch. So, there's Iconics, there's the Olympics, there's you circling back to Haro, there's your whole design thing. There's a performance. What is it? Performance branding. Performance branding.
Let's leave the Bob Haro story at that then for right now until the V2.
So that's cool.
That would be fun.
Perfect.
I would love that. Honestly, I truly would. So
these are your questions?
These are from the members of the channel. Nice. Gave them a little secret post of who is
to answer the phone.
Hold on, let's make this text bigger for us blindies.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Who in his opinion influenced BMX the most at any time in any way?
Oh man.
A big question.
That is better
influence
in the 40 years of BMX.
No, I can't say that. I would say Matt. The first guy that comes to my mind is Matt Hoffman because he really raised the bar on riding and competitions, events, tricks, craziness.
Yeah,
he did it all.
Sacrificed
he did his own brand,
his body, his life,
to
just elevate the the sport and stuff like that. He's the first one that comes to my mind.
Cool. I'm not even going to try and say these usernames. What differences or changes did he make to the Torker or for the freestyler? I know about the early models cracking and the lazy head tube angle, but I love to hear his perspective. See, this is this type of in the weeds shit.
Yeah,
it's like.
Well, I think for me the bike with let me see here with Torker was head tube angle. Dropouts were thicker. The head tube was, I think we beefed up the head tube. We changed the gusset underneath on the head tube. We did that, was different. So it was, we added because we were riding coaster brakes, we added a mount for coaster brakes and stuff like that. They were really small things, but they made a difference.
Yeah.
You know, so that was stuff we did. Stems or caps?
Stems or caps, Bobby?
What, me running a cap? Like what?
I think I think because of his username, I think he's talking about mushrooms.
Oh, okay.
Like you want the tops or the thing it sits on?
Oh, there we go.
You can also answer this question, Dennis.
I like fuck it all. It's great.
Yeah, thank you.
They're the same thing, I think.
I don't know. Answer his phone. The extended car warranty is expired. Jerry.
From Jerry Severson. I seen you perform in St. Paul, Minnesota in 1982. And at that moment, it changed my life. That show was the coolest thing I ever seen and still ride it 41 years later.
Awesome.
So, they're not necessarily in order. So I saw Bob perform in 84. He was rolling around on a skateboard with a video camera. Will that footage ever be released?
I have a bunch of tapes I need to transfer. I don't know what's sick. There. I don't know. I have a box of them.
That'd be
really.
That's
a bunch of
just VHS tapes. Yeah.
How do you transfer that nowadays?
Yes, there's a company in San Diego.
You can send it out.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's one of the things that I like. If I had an infinite amount of time, like we have all the ride tapes from I have a huge box in the garage, and it's like that sort of stuff. You could just like cycle through and just like, and then I always talk. I always joke
VHS convert, or it's not a VHS though, huh? It's a little tape.
Yeah, but I mean, you could just send them off, and they'll just because it's super easy.
Capturing this video on.
We have two GH4s cameras, and then so just two angles, and then the audio, and then we do the screen record.
Who chops it up?
Our buddy Kiko. We got an editor that helps out. So
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
No,
I think he uses
production.
Kiko to use AI these days. There's an AI editor, and I'm like,
oh really?
I'm not sure.
Wow.
So
there you go.
I was like, if you do, more power to you.
Yeah,
but
the AI is doing a good job.
What has BMX industry gotten right over the years? Where do you see the most room for improvement? Those are always hard.
What gotten right? still around, you know,
it's still alive. Still survived.
People still, if you're into BMX, you still love BMX. I think that these silly little 20-inch two-wheel bikes have made an impression on millions of kids and people around the world that are now grown-ups.
Yeah.
But where do you see the most room for improvement? I don't know. That's a design thing.
I think I know the answer is that when you said Bob told those stories, he made those heroes, and being able to do that again, I think is what BMX needs the most. I really got
the answer.
Dude, it's so hard, but how to get that story out? Right. How do you show that story when you're facing an algorithm that's just trying to show you like boobs and shit and stuff like that? How do you argue against boobs? How do you compete against boobs?
Everything's always been competing against boobs, though.
Yeah, but you couldn't buy that magazine back then. You needed all right. But which trick has had the greatest impact on how BMX is ridden?
Guess that's right.
I think that, I don't know. Backflips come to my mind.
No, maybe.
And I only say that because it seemed like it's the circus trick that everybody, the average person that wasn't a BMXer wants to see.
That's true. Back then,
the consumer of you at X Games, just seemed like backflips were always the circus trick that everybody wanted to see.
Think about that day rate if you could have done a backflip during ET.
Been good. That would have been really good. Yeah.
Can you name a trick that deserves a comeback? Or do you have a favorite that has seen a comeback, I guess?
No. I think that I feel that a lot of the early tricks that we did and moves are still kind of fundamental things that riders use, you know, some of the things that we've done back then.
Yeah.
You guys have taken it to such a different level, though. The things you guys do, and, you don't just do one trick. You do like 6 tricks in one trick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or like the basics, like you're saying, like those transformed into other tricks, they're just like the fundamentals.
I skipped over Randy. Sorry. I feel like we kind of touched on that a little bit.
What does he think?
BMX industry should do to bring more people into sport. Like, how do you get, I feel like there was a similar question earlier, but I feel like this one is good.
I got a question for Bob and all the elders. Thank you.
Yeah.
Elders.
Where's the union?
For action sports, athletes, media, and labor. So they managed to do it in film and music industry. Was there ever?
No.
Yeah.
I think that if anyone would have benefited, it would be Dennis and Matt.
Yeah.
And you. Well, I think there's management now. I mean, you have Wasserman and people like that represent riders that back in our day, we didn't. You negotiated your own deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? True. It wasn't very slick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so probably a better question for Brad Lusky.
Probably.
Yeah,
I feel like there's
agencies out there, but it would be like, for athletes, there's agents you can get a hold of, but the media and all that.
I'll be asleep.
These are hard questions.
They are hard questions. These are deep questions. And I feel like they're like, if I'm going to ask Bob Haro a question, it's going to be a hard fucking question.
Like it's a sought after dude. He's only got, a couple minutes. So let's just pick a couple.
I feel like this one's good. He's doing coaster wheelies long before they were called manuals. I believe he was the first person to do a manual.
That's how the riding style was. Lots of kids were doing them in my neighborhood, but I could do them pretty far.
What, like a manual sitting down?
Yeah. And we can do them, you can do them standing up too, but
the sitting down just wasn't there.
You have to remember we ran the seats so high.
Yeah.
You can sit on the seat.
The kid who got me into BMX, Justin Ripple, shout out Justin. He would always do them sitting down. I was like, how the hell are you doing that? So much cooler.
All right, last one. So what's your most favorite BMX trick to see or do? Straightforward one.
Podcast. Always looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's just a compliment for us.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
What's my
thank you.
Thank you
to all the questions wrote in.
BMX trick. I think there's too many nowadays. There's so many unbelievable tricks, and I don't have one that's a favorite. I really don't.
One of yours from back in the day,
I don't think mine even rate. To me, I was looking at all the stuff that you guys have done. To me, it's incredible watching, park riding and street riding and all this stuff. It's so complex.
Yeah.
So technical. So I can't even name the tricks, to be honest with you. I don't even want to attempt.
I can't. Half the time I can't.
I love your honesty.
You see, there was a guy that did a 360 with 6 bar spins the other day.
Yep. I saw that.
For real?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fucking insane.
Yeah, I saw that.
And literally, it was like, is it a sextuple bar spin? Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
I did see that. Who was the guy that did the, was it a quad backflip on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But he busted his back or his tailbone or whatever. He smacked. I couldn't believe how high it was. It was on
Nitro stuff.
Yeah, Nitro.
Might have been Judd Milden.
Yeah,
did they do the quad?
He did the quad. It literally, dude, it's so unfathomable that it was like 8 years ago, and we're like, was it 4?
Yeah, it's 4.
Yeah.
Because it was like they skipped 3. Like it was like it kind of like they did
4 though.
3.
Right?
Yeah, 3 got done, and he was basically like, I could do 4. And it was like, ramps. And he did, and him and James dueled it, and then did 4.
He pulled it right out of it?
100%.
Oh, wow.
Insane. We'll watch this, and this will be the last. Yeah.
Right.
It's in the podcast with the quad backflip. Shout out to Jed Milden and James Foster.
Wow.
Because have a
and he also
memory
beat the fuck
too.
out of me one time.
That one's amazing.
Did he really? Shout out.
Wait.
The one time I ever had my ass beat was it was just insane. So
and it was a BMX bike. That's awesome.
I was looking at
the chase for the biggest trick in action sports history.
Yeah. Yeah.
BMX will
WOW
forever be awesome.
Yeah. How long is it? 8 years ago. I was correct.
Wow.
8 years ago. 4 backflips.
I thought I saw somebody did something new recently, but he came up short and busted his tailbone or something like that because there's a big smack and I don't know.
Dude, it's like I don't know where I was every day, man. Every day something new, something. It's with the internet and everyone filming each other all the time. Like every day.
So you were saying you have a trainer, you got a masseuse, you have
like a dude who like my wrist is messed up. I'm gonna go see him on Thursday to just like
go to chiropractor.
No chiropractor. No. Yeah. I don't have anything against chiropractors. I just don't really like have a chiropractor that's ever like made me feel like, oh, that was awesome.
Oh, okay.
The little team I have, the people in San Diego that I use for certain things are kind of people that I'm like, they made a difference, you know, and I keep going back to them and they keep making a difference. Cause I've had other people, I'm like, I think they made a difference. Go back to them 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, this money's important to me.
How about a good bartender? You got a good bartender?
Ooh, I got too many good bartenders. Where I used to live was bad. Now I'm my own bartender.
Yeah, now he's on top of the hill.
Safety
it's harder to get to the bar.
Got my own little bar going on.
He does have his own bar.
Dale's.
Perfect. Well, boys, that was good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob.
Honestly, it was honestly great, and I love that you're kind of like leaving and we have a segue point and we can do another one.
True professional. His whole career, his whole life. Yeah. You're the man, Bob.
I'm trying.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Bob.
Yeah,
We're going to claim this as 100th episode. Bob Haro.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers. Shout out to Dales. Shout out to Dennis.
Really?
Thank you, Bob.
100?
It really is. I'm pretty sure it is. So
it might exactly be 100.
Thank you.
All right,
either 101 or 100.
I can hear the outro music already.
There is no outro music. We just go.
You just hear us mumbling as we leave.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. That was
someone keeping an eye on time too, because me and Fudger just have fun.